Hello everybody, welcome back to yet another Daily Cooking Show episode, another installation of the Daily Cooking Streams. I hope you're all having a beautiful Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If this is when and where you are watching here on twitch.tv/Daramgar. Hope you're all having a beautiful Saturday today. I am seeing everybody in chat. Hello to Munha, hello to Dolingo has my family, hello to Dosky. All the classics are here. Welcome on in, it's good to see all of you. I hope you're all having a beautiful Saturday. I am a little bit sleepy today. I had to wake up early. I met a friend for lunch. We got lunch. I've had a super busy, super productive day. Also, hello to SMG Hottie. Hope you're having a beautiful day as well. I'm pretty excited about today's stream. There's going to be quite a bit for us to talk about today. Just want to have a little catch-up session. Make sure you're all doing good. Also, hello to Nicholas. Welcome on in. Welcome, welcome. It's good to have all of you. And hello to Z the Dreamer. Hi, hi. Hope you're having an excellent day as well. Was the lunch delicious? Yes. My friend and I, we got some Korean food. So had some japchae and had some tteokbokki. And it was great. It was really delicious. I love Korean food. And I haven't been able to go out for some in a while. Also, hello to Def Bezos. Welcome on in. So, everybody, let's talk about what we'll be making today and why I'm actually pretty excited to talk about today. And this might be a very seemingly simple dish, and it is a simple dish, but it holds a lot of importance for me of what it actually means in a home kitchen environment. We'll be doing basically a little meatball soup, mostly inspired from a sopa de albondigas, something like that. So it's just going to be a meatball soup. I have some leftover meatballs. We're going to be making a lovely little meatball soup out of all of it. And so we're going to talk about this for a little bit. I am cooking at home. I am cooking in my own home environment. I am cooking in my own home kitchen. Nothing that I am showing on stream is not something that I would recommend for you to also do at home in a home environment. I'm not here to show you ridiculous recipes to impress somebody. The first thing that food at home should do, the first purpose that it should serve, is for it to be consistent and actually reasonable and feasible to do in your environment. And what that means is the food that you cook at home, they should either A, reheat exceptionally well, or B, transform into something else. So, meatballs are an excellent example of this. Yesterday, we made way too many of these beautiful lamb meatballs. We made way too many of these beautiful little lamb meatballs that I have here. And so, you could just reheat these and you could eat them as is. But guess what? We, as humans, we like variety, right? We like to have something a little bit different sometimes. Sometimes. I don't know about you, but at least for me. And so, if I had to eat the same meatballs 4 or 5 days in a row, I would have gotten pretty annoyed by the end of it. And so, you know what we'll be doing? We'll be transforming it into a lovely meatball soup instead. Everything that I do in my home kitchen is essentially feeding off of the existing ecosystem. I look at what's in my pantry, I get inspired. I look at the ingredients that are going bad, I try to use that. Okay? And that is the way that you should be cooking at home too. You don't have to transform everything, but I felt like meatballs would be an excellent thing to transform into something else, or in this case, sopa de albondigas. Okay? Or just kind of inspired by that in a way. It's going to be really, really delicious. It's going to be really wonderful. I'm pretty excited about it. We're going to have a lot of vegetables going into it. We're going to be making our own homemade chicken stock. As always, everybody, I exclusively buy whole chickens. Okay? Saves a little bit of money. This is a nice air-chilled chicken. We use the bones, we're going to make a beautiful stock. The meat I'm actually going to set aside and use it for tomorrow. But at home I want to have a constantly going supply of stock. So, I only buy whole chickens, okay? Because I get the bones and I'm able to make those consistent, beautiful stocks at home. Whenever you buy meat from a grocery store, everybody, remember, you want to go ahead and buy it, you want to put it on a sheet tray, even with a wire rack if you have one, and let it sit in your fridge for a couple of hours at least, ideally a day in advance. It's going to be a lot less wet, it's going to be not sopping wet, it's going to be a lot more pleasant to actually handle and break down. I only buy and I only work with whole chickens. Why is the chicken making a pose? Because he's hanging out, Muna. Because he's hanging out. Okay, then let's talk about everything that's going to be going into the soup today. So, we're going to be using some of the traditional vegetables, some of the traditional accompaniments. We're going to be basically making a little tomato sauce to go into the soup itself. We have some bell peppers as well. Half of this I'm going to char and basically blend down, and half of it I'm going to cube up. And then we also have some lovely little zucchini here. You can use summer squash, you can use whatever you want to. I was just really craving some zucchini lately, and I thought it would be excellent in the soup. Okay? And then we also have a classic root vegetables. Let me go ahead and grab those for you right now. We have the classic root vegetables. We have some carrot, we have some potato, and we have some celery. Okay, and I'll show you exactly what we'll be doing with all of this. We're going to make a lovely stock out of some of it. We're going to be chopping it up, cubing it up. I'll show you how to prepare your vegetables. As always, before you stream, before you actually cook at home, you want to make sure that everything is as washed as possible so that you can just basically get down to business when it comes time to do so. We'll be flavoring the soup with, of course, a bunch of cumin, a bunch of oregano. I have some parsley in the fridge that I wanted to get rid of as well. And so everybody, you can use whatever vegetables you desire. I'm going to teach you and talk to you about how to time everything, because every single one of these vegetables, they cook at slightly different rates and temperatures. So in a way, a soup to me is a lot about balance. It's a lot about balance. It's a lot of juggling. It's a lot of harmonization. It's knowing, or rather orchestration. It's knowing when do I do this, when do I do that, so that you can get the ideal texture out of every single one of these products. We got to talk about the size that you'll cut everything, because it's very important in something like a soup like this. So it's going to be simple. It's going to be clean. It's going to be delicious. And I'm excited to get started. And now my question is, does anybody have any questions for me, or are we ready? If you have any questions, let them go right now. If you're ready to go, I want to hear a resounding, universal yes, chef. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. I want to see it. Okay. Nobody's saying yes, chef. What's going on here? I chef? Okay, that works. That was a little bit slow, guys. That was a little bit slow. You got to keep up. You got to keep up with the pace of things. So, my friends, if nobody has any questions, I suppose we can begin. So, let's quickly head to the stove. I already have set up, this is going to be my pressure cooker pot. I always do my chicken stocks in a pressure cooker these days because it just makes so much quicker. It just saves so much time. If you don't have a pressure cooker, I highly recommend that you get one. I use the Instant Pot Pro, I believe. I've made so many things of beans, I've made so many things of chicken stock in it. It saves a bunch of time. It doesn't work for every single kind of stock, but this is going to be a very, very simple chicken and vegetable stock. And so, the first component that we're going to worry about is actually going to be the vegetables. So let's head to my lovely cutting board that I already have set up. And before I contaminate the work surface, I'm actually going to start with the vegetable prep. So here's the thing. Because of the fact that we have these carrots already appearing in today's soup, guess what? We can go ahead and trim off the heads. We can go ahead and trim off the ends, the dried out parts of the carrot. And we're going to throw these in, and it's going to impart a lovely sweetness into the stock. So these are already scrubbed. I washed them and I scrubbed them fairly thoroughly. And these, my friends, will impart a really, really nice sweetness. It's a very nice way to get the most out of your vegetable scraps. You don't have to do this. You can even chuck in a whole carrot if you would like. But this way, we just get to make the most out of what we have available to us, right? So into the pressure cooker pot it goes. And you can use whatever amount of liquid that you actually want. Camera suddenly became red when I cut the head. Was it just you? It might have just happened. It might be temporary though. Okay. Next, my friends, same exact thing with the celery, right? We're thinking about vegetable scraps. So celery scraps can also make a fantastic aromatic component to actually go into your stock. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to one end of the celery. And so I have a question for you. How many times have you bitten into a stick of celery? Let's say you're eating some buffalo wings, huh? You dip into a stick of celery, maybe in some blue cheese, and then you take a bite out of it, and then all the fibers get stuck in your teeth. And all of it just pulls out, and then your mouth is full of a bunch of stringy bits. How many times has that happened to you in the past? Because if I had to bet, if I were, you know, if I had to make a little guess, I would say it happened quite a bit. Too many times, chef? That's right. Too many times. It's very unpleasant. Guess what? Guess what? Take this. This is the root end of the celery. Take it, break it off. Look at that. All the fibers, they're coming out with. They're coming out. We don't want them, we'll get rid of them. We'll also do this to the dried off end piece. My friends, we've just gotten rid of a lot of the fibers, just like that. And guess what? All of this, we're just going to throw into a stock pot, into a pressure cooker pot. We're just going to throw in all those celery scraps. And again, this has been thoroughly washed beforehand. And look at these. Look at all these long fibers that would otherwise, look how tense it is. It's like a guitar string. These are ridiculous. You should always do this when you're prepping celery. You should always do this. I'm a very firm believer of this. Okay? It's okay, Rabbit. Welcome on in. I'm happy to have you. This is the best way to optimize celery. Okay, you're going to take the root ends, you're going to break it off. We took off a little bit more that time, it's fine. All of it's gonna end up getting used anyways. Last one. Oop. This one kind of broke funny. Great. Guess what, my friends? And all of these celery scraps, all of these fibrous bits, all of the butt ends of it, after it has been thoroughly washed, we throw it in. And now we have all of this celery that will be perfect for the soup. Okay? Maybe not that fibrous piece. All of this will now be really, really perfect to just chop up and get ready for when we do need it. And we're making the most out of it, and we're getting the most amount of flavor out of it as well. Okay, let's get rid of the celery now. That has now been done. Let's talk about the other aromatics that are going to be going inside. I'm just going to be throwing in one onion. The onion itself, I'm not going to be using the onion skin because I don't feel like washing an onion. I'm just going to be doing a whole onion here. And the reason I'm doing a whole onion is because onions, they tend to break apart and make a stock really, really cloudy. And they make it quite difficult to strain out after. And so, all that I'm doing is just keeping the onion intentionally intact. It's going to be able to impart its flavor, but then we'll be easily able to take it out after. Okay, let's throw that into the pot as well. And again, we're getting the most out of the vegetables. We're going to get a nice, delicious aromatic stock that way. Next, we got to talk about some of the spices that we'll be doing in there. I'm not going to do anything crazy, my friends. I have some black peppercorns. I'm going to just throw them in as is. Just a few. You're looking forward to the stream all day. I'm happy to have you, Nikki. And now, my friends, the bay leaves. And so I want to do all this stuff in advance so I wouldn't like contaminate my, vegetables or anything, right? If I put them on a cutting board after I do the chicken. And then we'll actually talk about and do the chicken. So bay leaves going in as well. And again, whatever vegetable scraps you have that can stand up to cooking, they would be great here. But that is basically like the classic French mirepoix, right? The idea of the celery, the carrot, the onion. It's all going to make a nice, delicious, flavorful stock for us. Okay, so now, my friends, let's get down to business. Let's get down to the exciting part. We got to break down a whole chicken. I only buy whole chickens at home anymore. I don't buy packs of chicken thighs. I don't buy packs of chicken breasts. I love doing whole chickens because it's a little bit cheaper. You're able to save some money. You're able to get a fantastic byproduct, which is the bones with which to make the stock. And always, 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 when you buy a whole chicken, my friends, just like this, we put it on a sheet tray, we put it on a wire rack, and we let it air dry in the fridge. How many times have you ripped open, let's say, a whole chicken from the package, or ripped open a package of chicken, even like breast and thighs, and it's just sopping wet in its little fucking styrofoam or plastic container? Okay? It happens all the time. And then you try to take it out and you put it on your cutting board and it's making a mess and it's splashing all over the place and it's a mess. Everybody, no matter what meat it is that you buy, I always, always, always air dry it in the fridge before I'm ready to use it as soon as I get home. Do this before you cook and I promise you, you will never look back. You will never look back. Also, Duolingo Has My Family has asked me a beautiful question. You've asked me, what does it mean for it to be able to stand up to cooking? And is there stuff to avoid? That's a beautiful question. So what I'm talking about is there's vegetables that could be way too soft that would end up breaking down in your stock itself and make it look really cloudy. And it might not also have a lot of flavor to impart. A really good example of this is something like the zucchini. The zucchini is not traditionally used in stocks because it really doesn't have that much to offer in terms of flavor. And it's so soft that by the time that it actually pressure cooks, it'll break down and it'll just be in a bunch of little teeny tiny pieces. So it just actually contributes nothing in this case. So I would avoid something like zucchini, right? And that's why we're keeping it outside of the stock pot. I hope that answers your question, Duolingo. Now, I can't really give you an extensive list at the moment. You could just give me one by one things and I'll tell you how I feel about them. But in general, root vegetables stand up to it quite well. Can I pat it down with napkins if I don't have the time, chef? That's a good question, Ugub. What I would recommend is you can. People would typically just do paper towels or something. You would just do paper towels, but I do both. I air dry it, but if you really have to cook it in that moment, of course, paper towels. Yeah, that's gonna be your best friend. Okay, my friends, I have a question. Who is ready to learn how to break down a chicken for the millionth time on the stream? Is everybody ready? I'm gonna show you how to do this. The thing that most people are intimidated by is actually this process. Most people are intimidated and they don't know how to actually get into the process of breaking down a chicken, but I promise you, even with no experience, you can do an excellent job on most of it. Just trust the process, believe me, and we'll be able to get something very special out of it. So my friends, first up, We got to understand all the parts that we want to take out and the parts that we want to set aside. First thing I want to do is make this chicken a little bit more manageable to work with. So we have a couple things we want to get rid of. We want to get rid of the wings and we want to get rid of the legs. And these are both going to be really easy. Also, Canadian Panda, thank you so much for the Prime sub. I hope you're having a beautiful day today. So first up, I'm going to show you how to detach the wings. The wings are some of the more difficult pieces to get off. The legs are super easy to get off, and the breasts are usually the most challenging. So my friends, to take off the wings, I start with the wings because they're kind of dangling around, and I want to just sort of get them off and not have to worry about them. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to pick up, you know what? I'm going to try to get a good angle for y'all. You're going to pick up one side of the wing like this. Nice sharp knife, always nice sharp knife, and we're never cutting through bone. All we do is we make, I'm actually just going to flip it around, make it easier for myself. We're holding the left wing here, or the right wing, excuse me. All we do is we take it and we make an incision where the wing actually meets the rest of the chicken. Just like this. We're using the tip of the knife, we're making that incision, and we're peeling it away. And guess what? Guess what? That's it. That's literally all there is to it. The whole wing just came off. That wasn't technical at all now, was it? All we did was we just pulled it off, and look at that, we completely separated it from the joint. You're never cutting through bone in this process. Okay, let's get the other wing done. Let's get a nice comfortable angle. Again, all we're doing here is we're just making an incision. I'm trying to get like an awkward angle here so I can actually show you guys what it looks like. If I was doing it for myself, I'd flip it around. All we're doing is we're separating the joint. And look how easily it slides out. Easily slides out. My friends, guess what? 2 perfectly detached wings from this chicken. Let's flip it back around, and then we'll talk about the legs in a moment. And guess what? The wings, I also typically throw into my stocks, not just the wing tips. So the whole wings, I'm actually just going to throw in right now. Right, these bad boys? They don't have that much meat on them. I don't love cooking with chicken wings. So I'm going to throw them in. Okay, next step. Let's take off the legs, my friends. So this is the easiest and the funnest step. Here's what you can do. You can already see the natural separation. This is the breast. This is the leg. Okay? All we need to do right now is we make an incision as close to the leg as possible. Just like this. And then it's just naturally and easily all going to peel off. The leg basically wants to separate from the whole thing. You can already see it's completely falling off of the rest of the carcass, right? We're never cutting through bone. We flip it over, breast side down. We take it. And what we're going to do is we're basically going to snap it. We're going to snap it and get this joint to pop off. You don't need that much force on a chicken. Okay? And then the only thing we have left to do, my friends, is we're just going to gently peel off this meat. There's no wrong way to do this. I'm just trying to preserve as much of the oyster as possible. And we won't be using any of the chicken meat today. We won't be using any of the chicken meat today. This is purely just so I can get a stock. And we'll be using the rest of the chicken for tomorrow's stream. Remember, tomorrow will also be live 5 p.m. Eastern time. And guess what? Look at that. One perfect chicken leg. Completely detached. Set it up on my sheet tray. Make sure you have a space for it that's set aside. Let's do the other one. Let's flip it over. We're making an incision right here. We're going all the way to the back. We take it. We're cutting through the skin. And then we just peel it off just like this. And then, my friends, the whole thing just easily comes off. Just follow the space in between the bone. And there you go. That's the next leg. This is the easiest part of the whole thing. And now we're going to get into what most people struggle with, which is actually getting the breast off. So this is a little bit wobbly. It's a little bit of a wobbly surface right now because we just took out the legs, which we're stabilizing the whole deal. Okay, let's do the breasts. Now, what we can do is, theoretically, we could just take off this entire backbone right now to make our lives a little bit easier to work with here, right? This is going to require a little bit of force, but ultimately what this is going to allow us to do is just have a slightly easier time when it comes to stabilizing the whole thing. And this is the backbone. I'm going to go ahead and throw this into the pot. It just rips off just like that. Okay, and now, theoretically, this should be a little bit more stable for us to work with. I guess some of the backbone is remaining here. We could continue to try and, take this off if you really would like to. Although this step is not completely necessary, I'm not gonna do it. This step is not necessary. Okay, so let's talk to actually how do we get the breasts off. You have 2 breasts on a chicken. 1, 2. There's a breastbone down the middle. First step that you need to do is you want to remove each side one at a time. There's a breastbone right down the middle that is separating the 2 of them. You can hear it if you tap your knife like that. You can hear it and you can feel the bone. So feel the bone. I know that it's right over here. And we're going to start by just making a very nice incision all the way through. Just like that. All the way to the end. Now, if you want to keep the tender and the breast intact, that's going to be a different discussion entirely. I like to separate the breast from the chicken tender. The chicken tender lies under the breast. So here's what we do. We've made 1 incision all the way like this. Next incision, to the side, just like so. And now, you can easily see the breast is now just peeling off of the chicken. We got to cut all the way through here. It's the only step left. We got to make sure we cut all the way through on this end. And the whole thing, my friends, just wants to slip out now. We've opened it up. This is the tender, and this is the chicken breast. And so all we need to do is just really, really carefully peel this whole thing off. You can rip it off if you're really confident in your ability to do so. I am not, so I'm just using my knife to gently glide all the way along. I've wasted a little bit. I had some accidentally left on the carcass. That's okay. And this is now 1 fully separated breast. I accidentally left a little bit of meat here, just the tiniest amount. And now, my friends, let's get rid of this chicken tender. You're going to take your thumb. You're going to separate it from the rest of the bone. Okay? You're going to want to take it off as much as possible. You want to get it on. Get your thumb in there. And again, gloves are very nice for something like this, okay? Yes, this is a fairly big chicken tender, all things considered. Okay? And it should, theoretically, easily peel away as long as you do the separation that you needed to. Right? It just wants to come off. It doesn't want to stay on. It wants nothing else to do with this. Okay? It doesn't want to be a part of this anymore. And now, it just easily slides off. Take a look. That's 1 beautiful chicken tender. Look how intact this is. This might be my best chicken tender yet. Excellent. And this is, of course, the softest part of the chicken. You can also take out the tendon that's in the middle. That always makes it a little bit tough. But beautiful, huh? Okay, let's do the other side now. So my friends, same exact idea. Keeping the skin on here as much as possible. We're going to go in the other side of the breastbone now. We're going to go ahead and make another lovely little incision. All the way through. We're not cutting all the way down to the bottom. We're just using the tip of a knife to make a little incision here. Okay? And then we're cutting off the side. We're making an L-shaped cut here. And now, if you were to go ahead and to open this whole thing up, you can see that the breast is already sliding off yet again. Right? We've opened it up. Here's the tender. Here's the breast. Make sure it's fully, fully separated from everything else. Run your thumb along here. We're going to go ahead, pick it up, and then just slice off this beautiful breast that we have, my friends. I always say this. I'm always saying this. I've never said that in my life. Okay. We just go in just like that, and this one came off a lot easier. And the more I do this, guys, the more I'm getting better at this too. Beautiful. Look at that breast, huh? Excellent. Now, tender, my friends, same exact idea. Does this require a very sharp knife, asks Daramgar, my family? And the answer is, the sharper it is, the easier this process becomes. Because you're not tearing through the meat, you're gently slicing through it. Yes, you need a very nice sharp knife to do this. The most important part is actually the skin. To be able to cut through the skin, you need a very sharp knife. Otherwise, for the flesh, a sharp knife is, of course, always preferable, but it's not as important when it comes to cutting through the skin. Cutting through the skin with a dull knife is almost impossible. Okay, all we're trying to do now, same exact idea, we're just trying to separate the tender from the rest of the breastplate, rest of the breastbone here. Okay, you can already see it's completely coming off. Here's the bone peeking out. And the less meat you see, the more of a good job you did in regards to like how much meat is actually stuck on the bone. Okay, look at this, my friends. Beautiful. And now, guess what? We've officially broken down an entire chicken ourselves. And it took a little bit longer than it actually would take because I was, of course, talking through the entire process. But that's it. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and dump that into my pressure cooker pot. Okay. I'm gonna take these gloves off, my contaminated, icky little chickeny gloves. Everybody, let's have a little recap session. What did we just do? What did we just accomplish? We broke down an entire chicken. We broke down an entire chicken. We got the legs out, we got the breasts out, we got the tenders out. We threw in the wings, we threw in all of the bones, and we had a bunch of vegetable scraps. The carrot tops, we had an onion go in, we had some celery, we had some black peppercorns and bay leaves. And that is how I make a very basic chicken stock. This is gonna go onto the pressure cooker. We're gonna do high pressure for about 40 to 50 minutes. And then we're gonna strain it out, and that is going to make the base for the soup. So that is the first step that we had to get done and out of the way. And the reason that we had to get it out of the way is because we need to go ahead and do everything else for the soup. Everybody, let me tell you something right now. Can you use boxed chicken stock? Of course you can. You can do anything in cooking. Is it an inferior product? Absolutely. I consider boxed and canned chicken stock almost completely inedible. I cannot understand why it even exists as a product. It's completely overpriced for what it is. It has almost no naturally occurring gelatin, and it tastes like shit. If you wanted to use a pre-made product instead of making your own chicken stock, I would use some of this, right? This is just chicken bouillon powder. I would always do chicken bouillon powder. This is very handy to have at home, or you can even do better than bouillon or something. Never buy boxed chicken broth. Never buy canned chicken stock. Do not do it. This stuff is cheaper, and it's truthfully just better. Do this, or buy better than bouillon, and do that, and I promise you, it will save your life. It will save your life. They're incomparable. They're completely different products. Switching from chicken stock, from boxed chicken stock, to any of these things that I've just mentioned, being the homemade chicken stock, or to the powdered bouillon, or to even, the better than bouillon paste. Any of those, they will immediately upgrade your cooking product. They will always make your food better. Boxed chicken broth is awful. And it is way too expensive for what it is. It is way too expensive. It should not exist. I don't like shitting on products just because they're cheap. But it is heavily overpriced for what it is. And there's cheaper and better alternatives available. Does it have onion or garlic in it? Rabbit, we did throw in one whole onion into the chicken stock that we're making. We did not throw in any garlic because we're gonna have garlic in the soup as is. Does everybody follow? Does anybody have any questions for me? I never want to see any of you here use canned or boxed chicken stock again. Preferably make your own if that is not realistic. No problem. Use better than bouillon. Use powdered chicken broth. In fact, we might even use some of the powdered bouillon if I feel like I want some more of that chickeny oomph. Okay? So, let's have a little sip of water. It'll save your life. That's right. I'm going to restock on water. And now, my friends, we have to talk about everything else that we're doing. So, a couple things going on here. We've already started on the chicken stock. That's going in the pressure cooker. I am going to take a second to just clean up my station, right? Because I made a bit of a mess here, and I have all of these chicken pieces. So, for tomorrow's stream, I am going to be using all of this chicken. So I'm going to go ahead and just throw that on into the fridge, okay? See this bad boy? Still exposed in the fridge. It's going to stop it from being way too wet. It's going to be perfectly dried out for us to be able to work with for tomorrow's cooking. Then I have to worry about my knife, of course. I'm going to just go ahead and set that into my sink, and I'll clean it up in just a second. We're going to take out this cutting board. We didn't get anything on the table or anything, good, so we don't have to worry about that. Everybody, you're cooking at home. You clean as you go. You take a second to do this, I promise you, you will have that much less of a mess later on. If you don't have a dishwasher, it makes it all a little bit more difficult. Also, hello to Scribblo. Welcome on in. Okay, I am going to take a second to quickly wash off my petty knife because I would like to be able to use it for everything else. Before like anything chickeny dries up on it. If I had a professional dishwasher on set, this whole stream would be kind of fake, right? Because what's the point of teaching you home cooking if I'm not actively actually doing my dishes at the same time? This is supposed to be a little slice of life on what it means to cook at home and what it means to cook in a home environment. Okay? Everything that I'm making here, it's for the people that live at home. It's for myself and my mom. And so, it has to be done with that in mind. So I'm sorry if it's not too professional of me, but if anything, I feel like it just makes it real. And that is something, by the way, that is something that I think I have a very big bone to pick with when it comes to a lot of YouTube cooking content. Ooh, my microphone just got stuck. That was not my bone to pick with here. But when it comes to a lot of YouTube cooking content, the reality is this. They're cooking oftentimes, if they're trying to teach you something, they don't talk about what is the occasion that you would be doing this for. They make you think, oh, these elaborate things are things that everybody should be making at home. And in reality, they don't teach you how to clean as you go. They don't teach you how to keep your station organized. And they give you a big fucking pile of dishes to do for what could be just a novelty or a very inefficient dish. And then you're like, wow, that sucked. I hate cooking. I am cooking at home. I'm cooking for you live. I don't have anybody else doing my dishes. Right? So everything that I make that would be suitable in my home environment, if you have the same time as me, then congratulations. All of this is now applicable and suitable for you. Do you have any questions on the matter? Anybody have any questions? Any comments, any concerns? Also, before we do continue, I do also want to quickly say, grocery costs have been going up, especially for today. The produce has been kind of ridiculous as of late. If anybody would like to help out, please exclamation mark tip or donate or scroll down. It'd be very, very helpful. But you don't have to. No obligation to do so. I'm just putting it out there. Okay, so enough of that. Enough shilling. Let's get my station set up again. So my friends, let's talk about what we're making. So we're doing, of course, this beautiful soup, this beautiful, meatball soup. We already have the meatballs made. We now have to think about all the different vegetables and all the different ways to prep it. Specifically, what I wanted to do here is I wanted to make, just like we would a salsa, right? You guys have seen me do this on stream a million times before. You've seen how many times I've made salsas. You've seen the amount of times that I've charred something under the broiler. I want to get some extra flavor into this entire dish. And what that's going to entail is us charring some of the components and making a little salsa out of them, and then adding that on into the soup. So it's just 2 tomatoes, it's just 1 bell pepper, and then also we're gonna do 2 jalapenos. I wanna char these, but one of the bell peppers, one of the green bell peppers right here, I'm actually going to keep intact. I'm going to keep this thing intact because I wanna be able to chop it up and throw it into the soup and still have a bite of the bell pepper. But some of the bell pepper, I want it charred and blended down and dissolved into the soup. So we're giving it a lot of love. We're doing basically bell peppers 2 ways. And we're gonna do what I always do, which is broil things. And in order to broil things, I of course have my lovely little sheet tray with a little bit of aluminum foil already set up. Okay? Happy holidays, Bluster. Welcome on in. So my friends, really simple. Let's glove up because we're starting to work with something acidic here. We're starting to work with, of course, the tomatoes. And again, the entire idea of this, I just want to get a very flavorful, smoky little paste, a little salsa almost, to be able to throw into everything else, okay? You don't have to do this step. You don't have to at all. I like the smokiness that it provides. It's completely optional. Everything that I'm showing you here is optional. This isn't particularly a traditional sopa de, Albondigas? Something like that. I forgot how to say it in Spanish. This isn't really the traditional version of this dish. I am just kind of using what I have. Also, SMG, thank you so much for the $5. That was very sweet of you. Really, really appreciate it. It does help. Every little bit helps. Okay, so my friends, let's talk about this. We want to get these things in the perfect shape and size that we can go ahead and broil them and char them. Let's start with the bell pepper because this is the easiest to do. You guys saw me do this yesterday. We're going to do it again. So here's how we get ready for the bell pepper. Look at the sides. You see these? These are the ribs of the bell pepper. This is where the entirety of the white part is. We don't want the white part. It's spongy and it doesn't have any nutritional flavor or, any flavor to provide. Okay? So here's what we do. We stand it up straight. If it's a little wobbly, feel free to shave down the bottom of it a little bit. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take the bell pepper and we're just going to shave down the sides. We're going to get this entire thing of the flesh. And we're going to keep all of the white part of the pepper inside. Beautiful. And it comes off nice and easily. Also, thank you so much for the $5, colon3. Very sweet of you as well. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Guess what? Bell pepper, prepped. That's all that we needed to do for it, my friends. And of course, I pre-washed it. We're going to dry this off one more time before it goes under the broiler. And again, the entire point of this is we just want to char it to the point that the skins get really nice and blackened. We're not just caramelizing it. We're not just roasting it. We're charring it. Also, hello to Fish. MTG. Welcome on in. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. Okay. Now, tomatoes. Let's talk about the tomatoes really quickly. Here's what we do. We cut it in half. These are very gentle, delicate, soft tomatoes. We're going to cut it in half, make a diagonal incision, cut out the core of the tomato. You don't have to do this with cherry tomatoes. I'm using vine tomatoes today. The vine tomatoes, or any tomato that's bigger than a cherry tomato, the cores tend to get quite woody. And if we wanted to blend that down, it's the same idea as like the white part of the bell pepper. It doesn't really add anything besides a fairly unpleasant texture. You don't have to do this with cherry tomatoes. You can use any kind of tomatoes that you want for this. If you're using small tomatoes, you don't have to actually even cut it at all, right? You can just sort of throw it onto a sheet tray. I'm also going to sneak a little taste of the tomato just to see how it's doing because I like tomatoes. Hello from Moscow. Russia, love you. Well, guess what? Want to know something funny? I'm Russian. Здравствуйте, как у вас дела? Ah, you weren't expecting that one, were you? That's right, got you by surprise. I am Russian. It was the first language I grew up speaking, right? Until I was about, whatever age. Say some more Russian things. Я не знаю, что сказать. Я не знаю, что сказать по-русски. Я не знаю, как готовить по-русски. Я не знаю, как объяснять, что я делаю в кухне по-русски. Это я не знаю, как делать. Okay, I'm not great at it anymore. But I can still think in Russian and I sleep talk in Russian quite a bit. I'm a very notorious sleep talker. Okay, my friends, we're not getting rid of the seeds because we want the spice. I also don't read Russian very well. Я не могу читать по-русски. Я только могу разговаривать. Говорить? Something like that. Okay. My friends, this is a beautiful tray of vegetables. We've been preheating the broiler this whole time because we want to char these vegetables. We want to make a beautiful paste. Also, I will ask for only English in my Twitch chat just so that it is, accessible to whoever is watching. Thank you very much. Okay, my friends. We have the tomatoes, we have the bell peppers, we have the jalapenos. We're going to char it all and then we're going to blend it down into a beautiful little paste, into a little salsa. Right? We're going to add a really nice amount of smokiness. We're keeping the seeds of the jalapeno inside, because we want to get all of that heat and I want a very nice spicy, I want a spicy soup. You don't have to do that if you don't want. Remember everybody, what I am teaching you today is not a recipe. None of this is a recipe. All of this is just technique. And that is the way that you need to learn how to cook. If you learn how to do a recipe, if you learn how to only do a recipe, you will only learn how to do that thing and you will never build up an understanding. But what I am teaching all of you are techniques, and that's why if you have any question at all, I want you to ask me. I am here to help you get better at home cooking. Also, that means meatballs, I believe. I'm pretty sure that means meatballs. Fairly certain. 99% confident. That is what the soup is named after. Okay, I'm just checking some notice really quickly. So let's go ahead and take a look. No, this is not a Greek soup. This is, there's like a Colombian version, there's a Mexican version. This is just very common in like Latin America, right? All it really does mean is meatball soup here. Okay. Is there a solid way to make a dish spicy if it's already hot? I'm not sure what you're asking me, Duolingo. Are you asking me how to make something more spicy, or are you asking me how to make something less spicy? And does Greek wedding soup have meatballs? I have no idea. No, I have no idea. Italian wedding soup does. Greek wedding soup? I don't know. Just add more spicy stuff. You want to melt your tongue off? Okay, so there's a couple of ways to actually go about this. Right, I guess the easiest route is, if you don't really care about the flavor of something, you could do either cayenne pepper or the red chili flakes, because both of those are kind of very neutral in taste, and all they do is, all they really do is just add heat. If you're looking for a little bit more flavor and not just straight heat, I would recommend looking into some other chilies, right? You could have chipotles, right, which also add like a very nice smokiness. You could have some arbol chilies. You could add different kinds of chili powders. But I never recommend having chili powders on hand. I recommend using whole red chilies whenever you can for heat, because they have a lot more to say. I don't love cayenne pepper and I don't love red chili flakes out of principle, because they just don't do a lot flavor-wise and they're just heat. I like ingredients that have something to say other than just fulfilling a function. It's the difference between using honey versus sugar. Honey tastes like honey and it's not just sweet. Sugar is just sweet. It does not taste like sugar. And so I apply the same exact idea to chilies. Okay, my friends. So remember, we have stuff under the broiler, the top element of the oven. If you're in if you're in the EU, you'd probably call this the grill. We can go ahead and take a little look and see how it's doing. Right, I'm going to go ahead into my broiler, and I'm going to just pop it out for just a moment, just to show you the process of it blackening. We're looking to char it. You can see the tomatoes, the wettest ones, aren't there yet. We see some blistering on the jalapenos, on the bell peppers. We're going to go ahead and throw that back in. We want to get it nicely blackened all the way on top, my friends. And then we're going to puree it. We're going to puree it. We're going to get a lovely little salsa, a lovely little paste, essentially. So, a couple of other things going on. We have a lot of vegetables that we need to prep. We also are going to make a little spice mixture. We're also waiting for the pressure cooker to build up pressure. Hopefully, I don't actually run out of things to do today. That would be a problem. I don't think it will be a problem, but it might be. Let's start building the pan of spices for today. So, just going to quickly wipe off my station here. Take my paper towel. So my friends, next thing, you've already seen me do this a million times, but we're going to do it again. If you know this stream, you know that we do whole dried spices. We never use pre-ground spices unless it's absolutely necessary. And for today, I want a bunch of cumin as usual. That is a bunch of delicious whole cumin. Remember, spices held in this form, okay, they're a lot less volatile. They tend to hold a lot better. They tend to hold onto their flavor for a lot longer. When spices, especially ground spices, are exposed to both air and oxygen over time, they lose their flavor, they lose their potency. So, cumin seeds. That's a good start. Let's talk about what else we want. I want some coriander seeds. Volatile as in you just lose a lot of their flavor, you lose a lot of their pungency. We're going to do some coriander seeds. A little bit more. No, you're thinking of flammable. Could you plant those seeds and grow more cumin? Honestly, I don't really know how it works, so maybe. So, you don't have to toast every single spice. There's spices that you would toast and spices that you wouldn't. But we're also going to do some black peppercorns. Not a lot, because we'll also have some ground black pepper. And now, my friends, that is the beginning of the flavor of the soup. We're going to toast it. We're going to toast it over an open flame. We're going to get it really nice. But in the meantime, I'm also going to set up the mortar and pestle that will be grinding this all in. The oregano, right? The oregano, we're not actually going to be toasting. We have no need. Okay, so that's a good point. I guess just pungency. Pungency might be a better word. We're going to do the oregano off the heat. We're only going to be grinding it up in the mortar and pestle itself. We have no reason to toast the oregano. We'll just end up losing flavor overall. And toasting it, again, is not the most essential step in the world, but what it does is it makes the spices a little bit warmer in flavor. Okay? So, let's head to the stove. It gives it a slight toastiness. It just gives it a very slight warm flavor. And my friends, always, here's how you toast a spice. Medium heat. You want to set it on and you just want to keep it moving. That's all you got to do, my friends. And listen, you don't have to use a mortar and pestle. You can use, the most efficient tool would be a coffee grinder. People, they have 2 coffee grinders at home. A lot of cooks, they have 2 things at home. They have a coffee grinder and they have a dedicated spice grinder, meaning they don't grind anything except spices in there, right? Because then the flavor just kind of sticks to the plastic and everything. You can just get a coffee grinder. You can get a cheap, shitty $20 coffee grinder online, and you can do it. Okay, always toast spices before grinding them, asks Jake, and the answer is it depends on what you have. Cumin, coriander, black pepper, yes, absolutely. Oregano, dried herbs, you're not doing that. I don't really like a lot of dried herbs besides oregano. I never really find any use for them. But all we're doing, my friends, is just we're toasting it up now, and all of it is going to go into the soup today. The pressure cooker is currently building up pressure. It's getting there, it's getting done. And we're looking for some very slight smoke. Once this just begins to smoke, it's ready to go. Also, I do use idits, I don't use shihut. This is a little correction. Also, hello Tobiah. Welcome on in. It's not smoking quite yet, and you want to keep it constantly moving. You want to keep it constantly moving. And the reason for that is because if you don't, you're going to end up burning it on one side over another. A little bit more. A little bit longer. Just keep pushing it, keep pushing it, keep going, keep going, keep going. Perfect. And now, my friends, very slight wisps of smoke. We're just going to pour that into the mortar and pestle that we've set aside. The oregano is in there. Ever use fenugreek? I love fenugreek. I only have pre-ground fenugreek though, which is a bit of a tragedy. I would love to get some whole fenugreek leaves in at one point. I'm checking on my vegetables. Perfect. Leaving in a little bit longer. We're looking to really try and blacken those vegetables, right? And I'll show you exactly what that looks like. So my friends, first step always, you're going to want to crush any of the whole seeds, especially the coriander, especially the black peppercorns. You want to get in there and you want to crush it up before you start rolling all of this around. You don't want to pound it, just get in there and smash it down. Smash it down. Smash it down. Crack your pepper, crack the coriander seeds. Make sure that everything is just flattened and squashed. Because otherwise, if you start doing this, it's going to bounce around and you're never going to get any kind of leverage on it. So first thing you got to do, my friends, is flatten it. Guess what? It's Flat Fuck Friday. Wait, no. Shit. It's Saturday. Never mind. It's not Flat Fuck Friday. I apologize for lying to all of you. But yes, I love fenugreek. It is one of my favorite spices. It's up there. My favorite spice is cumin. You can see how much cumin I use. Okay, and now that we've squashed it all, now that we've flattened all of it, it's just going to be some rotations. But first thing, let's head to the stove really quickly, and let's pull off the vegetables from the broiler. Remember, my friends, this is how I start my salsas. I really blacken them. I really get them charred. I really get them delicious and nice and smoky. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Take a look. This helps to soften them, but more than anything, we're adding a beautiful smokiness into the dish. Anybody that thinks that's burnt is absolutely incorrect. The idea was not to roast it. We wanted to char it. We wanted to burn it intentionally. Let me tell you something right now. The thing that people miss out most when making anything Mexican related, any kind of Mexican food inspired or authentic, is they miss out on the component of the char. I don't mean browning. I don't mean sauteing. I don't mean caramelization. I mean char. You will be surprised how much, especially the indigenous roots, that charring ingredients actually has. Right? I already forgot like which indigenous group it was, but like there would be like a practice of getting like a bunch of chilies in a metal box, throwing it in a fire, and basically getting the ash out of all of those and to incorporate that into different dishes. You see things blackened and charred all the time. It's like we're grilling, right? The char marks are delicious. It's not just about things being browned and caramelized. Okay, it's about getting them smoky. So let's continue this process, my friends. Let's keep it rotating. Let's keep it rotating. Let's keep it going. And now we're looking for a nice fine powder. That's all. We want a nice fine powder, and guess what? The pressure cooker gets built up pressure. Ooh, I realized I didn't do something. I didn't update the menu for today, but it's okay. It's fine. We don't need to. So my friends, we're even though this is a very simple dish for today, we're doing basically a leftover meatball soup. We're still giving it a lot of love, and we're giving every single component a lot of flavor here. Yeah, the thing has not updated. Let me fix that really quickly, okay? I do apologize. Custom commands. Perfect. Guess what? It's been done. Now it should work just fine. Beautiful. So my friends, we're grinding it up. We're grinding it up. Does anybody have any questions? We're slowing down a little bit. Today's a very chill stream for today. We're doing a triple back-to-back. Tomorrow's next stream is going to be 5 p.m. Eastern time. And then we'll do a little recap session once I'm done grinding up the spices. Okay, and you just want to keep going until you get a nice, beautiful, fine powder. I can never get enough of cumin. I can never get enough of cumin. That's why I'm using such a high amount for today. I love cumin to death, my friends. It has such a beautiful earthiness. Freshly toasted cumin, you just cannot beat it. Oregano, just very, very common Mexican cooking, right? I don't actually know. Is there anybody in chat that could educate me on this? Does anybody know the difference between Mexican oregano and oregano, right? Like you would use in Italian cooking or anything? Or do you do anything special for New Year's? So Duolingo as my family. We would normally, growing up, we would celebrate New Year's quite heavily as a family. This year I am not. We're just doing the cooking stream tomorrow. And I'm gonna have a very chill year this year because I celebrated Christmas with some friends. I just have a lot of work to do. I'm gonna be gone for a little bit after Tuesday. I'm gonna be gone a little bit on Wednesday. So I'm not doing anything special this year for New Year's. Which is a shame because this is the first New Year's that I'm actually 21 years old. Right? And so people would be like, oh, you got to go out and do shit. Oh. I'm busy, and I like being busy. I like doing all the different things that I'm working on. Right? I don't go to parties nearly as much as I used to. That's actually changed quite a bit for me. So I could talk about myself so much. I realize this is supposed to be an informative little cooking show, but now here I am, babbling on about my personal life. It's not a problem. I know it's not a problem. Being busy is good. Being busy is excellent. I love being busy. It's my ideal state of being. As long as I get enough sleep, oh, so much I'd love to get done in a day. Okay, my friends, we're gonna keep going until we're getting rid of all of the fibers of the cumin seeds. Is content creation your main job? So keepers, I'm basically doing a lot of different little things. I'm an esports commentator by trade, right? So I do Super Smash Bros. And Brawlhalla commentary as well as any game that people would like to hire me for. But I would like to not just be a content creator. I would love to be an instructor, a chef, right? To teach people how to cook. I'm trying to make this my main job is what I'm trying to say. I don't want to be a content creator. I want to be a culinary educator. I want to be a culinary educator for the masses. I want to create the best cooking show on Twitch. I want to create a cooking show better and better produced than what you would see on TV. Because I think I can do it better and I think I can do a better job of it. And I want to keep it free, and I want to keep it completely accessible for everybody involved, and then to be able to survive and live off of, donations and subs and all that other kind of stuff. That's what I want to do. I don't want to actually, I was thinking about it a lot, and I was like, I don't think I actually want to become like a private cooking instructor, because I strongly believe in the accessibility of knowledge and information, and being able to really, really impact a large audience with this kind of a thing rather than helping people on a small scale. And that's what I'm trying to do here. Mexican oregano is a little bit stronger and more pungent. I see. Interesting. So my friends, we had a lot of spices to get through. If you had a spice grinder or a dedicated coffee grinder, right, this would get the whole thing done a lot faster, but we did it anyways. Okay. All we're going to do is we're just going to wipe that off. I'm going to get a little container, a little bowl, to set it all aside. So let's just spoon that in. Let's get it all in here. This is all of the spices for today, right? We had a bunch of cumin, we had a bunch of the black pepper, the coriander, and the oregano. And we might add some more oregano later on. And so, by the way, I'm not using cilantro for this today, which might be a bit of a travesty for a lot of people that are watching. It's like, hey, how can you have Mexican cooking without cilantro? Well, guess what? I had parsley in the fridge that I wanted to get rid of first. Instead of going ahead and buying an entirely different herb. Is it traditional to use parsley? Yeah. Is it traditional to use cilantro? Absolutely. It's not particularly traditional in this dish to omit the cilantro, but guess what? It's only inspired by this dish, right? This isn't exactly, like a traditional, like Mexican meatball soup or anything. I am using what I have available to me, and I know that if I bought cilantro, I would have way too many herbs in the fridge that I would then have to get rid of. So, I'm gonna have a flavor profile that's mostly consisting of parsley, just so that I could use up what I actually have available to me. And this, my friends, is now a lovely little spice mixture. That's all done. Also, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe this off, and remember, if you keep your mortar and pestle dry, you never really have to wash it. Right, I haven't had to wash mine in a while. Right, I don't do tomato in it, I don't do garlic, and I don't do anything crazy like that. Okay, my friends, let's have a little bit of a recap session. Are we ready? Is everybody ready? I want to hear a resounding yes, chef, please, and thank you. Everybody that's watching right now. Yes, chef, perfect. It's 1, 2, lovely. So, little recap. Currently, in my pressure cooker, I have a bunch of chicken bones going. We have the chicken bones, we have the vegetable scraps, the carrot tops, the celery root and ends. All of that is currently going in a pressure cooker at the moment with some bay leaves and black peppercorns. We're gonna make a stock for the soup. We also charred up all these vegetables that we're going to blend down and add to the soup, the tomatoes, the bell peppers, and the jalapenos. And then I made this little spice powder out of cumin, out of oregano, out of black pepper and coriander seeds. Okay, so, how do I say your name? Is it Pachuco? Pachuco Cadaver? Pachuco has asked me, do I work as a chef in a restaurant? And the answer is no. I'm going to talk to you why. I apprenticed for a few days when I was like 13 years old at a restaurant or two. It's not for me, and let me tell you why. I have a lot of problems with the restaurant model. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to become a professional chef in a restaurant. I have a lot of restaurant concepts I would love to execute on a greater scale, but here's my problem with restaurants. Number one, they don't do a very good job of feeding people in a functional way. What do I mean by that? People are working, people are busy, people go to school, people go to their jobs. Most good restaurants aren't particularly cheap. They take a while, there's this whole song and dance with waiters and waitresses. You sit down, you don't get, as much food as you would necessarily like to eat. It's a very inefficient model, and you're paying a lot for the service of it all. And there is an incredible amount of food waste that actually comes out of restaurants. And dishes are designed and priced in a way for it to not just be profitable, but to actually uphold the cost of other things, right? The idea of selling French fries for $11 so that can pay for the cost of something else. To me, doing that kind of work, especially in a restaurant setting where you have to do the same thing over and over and over again, is the least fulfilling thing imaginable. I have my own restaurant concepts in the future. I have things that I want to do. I want to have food that is accessible to everybody. Okay? I don't want to have food that is only available for people on special occasions and for, your average tech workers and six-figure makers to go and dine out on a regular night. Okay? I have an entire concept that I have planned out that I've talked on stream a couple of times before in the past, and if we have time, we'll talk about it as well. But yes, I have no desire to become a chef, but I have restaurant concepts that I think can work and can actually facilitate the social change that I'm looking for. So I hope that answers your question. I do not, and I have no intention of ever being a chef in a kitchen. Okay, my friends, now let's start talking about the stuff for the soup itself. We have a bunch of vegetables to prep, we have a bunch of vegetables to get through, so let's start doing all of that now. We have, what do we got? We got bell peppers, we got carrots, we got onions, we got potatoes. Let's start doing that. First step, let's do the potatoes. We can start with anything, it's not very specific here. First step with potatoes, my friends, always, 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 you want to get a bowl and you're going to want to fill it with some water. And the reason for this, of course, and this might seem like obvious information for anybody else that has worked with potatoes before, but guess what? I'm here to help to cater to everybody involved. And somebody might not know. Potatoes tend to oxidize when exposed to oxygen. They tend to get quite brown, and the texture and flavor changes, and it gets quite unpleasant. In order to stop potatoes from oxidizing, you have to make sure that they're covered in water. A similar thing happens with avocados. So what you can do is you could theoretically take you could take plastic wrap and wrap the potatoes or something. It doesn't do that good of a job. You can do it in oil. Traditionally, you would just do this in water, and then we're going to keep it in water until we're ready to use it. Okay? So a little bit of water, just enough to be able to cover the potatoes. And it's not going to oxidize immediately or anything, but because of the fact that it's actually going to end up sitting out for an hour, you have to get that ready, my friends. Now, let's talk about the kind of potato that we'll be using. I believe these are some russets that I picked up. All I did was I scrubbed them. I didn't peel them yet. We're going to get to that now. I want to peel them. You don't really have to peel it if you scrub them. I don't like the skin on russet potatoes. Okay? You can use any kind of potato that you would desire. Just keep in mind this. The starchier, or the the potato in the UK, right? A starchy potato is called very floury. The more it's going to kind of crumble apart and thicken the soup, and the less starchy it is, the less it is considered to be starchy, the more it's going to hold up in the soup. This is somewhere on the starchy end of things. It's going to be totally okay. We're only doing potatoes, just 2 potatoes for this. 2 russet potatoes I have here. So here's what we do, my friends. We take it, we move it, and you want to have a nice sharp peeler. If you're struggling with your peeler, throw it out, buy a new one. If you have a dull peeler, they usually can't be sharpened. You got to get rid of it. You got to get a fresh one, my friends. Okay? Having a nice sharp peeler will change your life. I promise. Because look at this. Effortless. Easy. You should really be replacing your peelers, depending on how much you use them, once every year or 2. If you're working in a professional kitchen, usually once every 3 months. Right? And if you get a carbon steel blade, it'll last a lot longer. You can get a carbon steel. This is called a V-neck peeler. I only get V-necks, or the V-shaped ones. I find them a lot more comfortable. There's different kinds of handles. I prefer the V one. Don't get an expensive one. You should not be paying realistically more than $12 for this. You do not need an expensive peeler. You will be getting rid of it eventually. So do not get a fancy one. Do not get one. Let me show you one I don't like. Let me show you one I don't like. We have this at home. This is another V-neck peeler. Look how bulky this handle is. You do not want this bulky of a handle. It starts to get in the way and it starts to get really, really clunky when you want to peel something. And then they're also more expensive because there's more plastic involved. You really just want something super, super thin and light and easy to work with like this. I promise you, do not get a bulky one. It'll just make your life a little bit more difficult. So Tobias, you think it's hard to get a fine one? This is a Victorinox red peeler. That's what I have. That's it, and it works great. You can get an OXO V-neck, you can get whatever. It actually does not matter the brand, right? The only thing is, are you going to clean it regularly and make sure that it's dry? Get a carbon steel one. If you don't trust yourself enough to do that, get a stainless steel one. A carbon steel one will last longer, but you have to make sure it doesn't rust. Okay, my friends, guess what? That's one potato, and you can already see. You can see it just starching up my hand. And actually, we're gonna cut it later because I don't wanna have to clean off the cutting board after we cut it. Because cutting potatoes typically makes a bit of a mess. Right? Because all the starch is just kind of on the cutting board, all the potato water. So we're actually just going to peel it, and then we're going to cut it after. Okay, all the way around the potato, my friends. Perfect. All the way through. Is everybody doing it? Is everybody following? Does anybody have any questions about this process? We're just keeping it simple, guys. Today's a nice, chill, cozy stream. Yesterday was a little bit more intense. We were doing some crazy shit yesterday. Today, we're using up leftovers. We're hanging out. Okay. Yeah, chef, doing anything with the scraps? I am not. If you want to do something with the potato peels, you can. You could also leave them on. You don't have to take them off. I just didn't feel like scrubbing them enough that I would include them in something. Right? If you want to include your potato peels in something, you'd have to really, really heavily scrub it. I didn't want to do that, and I enjoy peeling things. Otherwise, potato skins, what can you even use potato skins for? You can deep fry them, I guess. I don't know. I'm just going to throw these away. It doesn't matter too much, actually. It's not that much food waste, but I will say there is a lot of nutritional value in the potato itself. in this potato skins itself. So yes, there is basically, the potato itself is mostly just starch, and anything else is actually in the skins themselves, right? So yeah, there is quite a bit of nutritional value that is being lost, but honestly, I have enough vegetables that I really don't care. I think I don't care. So, this is your waste bowl, everybody. Anytime that you're cooking, you want to always have a scrap bowl. If you're composting, you'd have a separate compost bowl, and then you'd have a garbage bowl. But that's already all done, my friends. And now we can move on to the other stuff. So, what do we got to do? Well, we got to chop up some bell peppers. We got to chop up some zucchini. The zucchini I'm actually going to do last because the zucchini is also a little prone to just getting kind of weird and oxidizing in the way that an apple does. So let's do the bell pepper right now, my friends. And now we have to start thinking about the size of everything. We have to start thinking about the size that we're chopping everything and cutting everything up. Let's glove up for this yet again. Let's make sure that we have a place to put this all. So remember, we have one bell pepper that we charred that we're going to blend up into a beautiful little salsa. Right? Let's go ahead and just go on over to the stove one more time just so you can take a look at it. Right? Those are the tomatoes, those are the bell peppers, those are the jalapenos as well. And we saved one because I wanted to have the texture of it as well. And this is very nice. We're getting the very vegetal smoky flavors out of the bell pepper, but then we're also getting the texture out of it. We're basically doing bell peppers two ways. And I love doing this to ingredients. I love looking at it and figuring out how can I, despite me using the same ingredient, how can I treat it in two different ways to show off two different things about the ingredient? My best example of this is in a tomato sauce. I'm doing a tomato sauce. Guess what I do? I follow the serious eats method, right? Well, I think it's Daniel Gritzer's method, which is, hey, I have tomatoes that are going to cook down for a very long time, and then I'm going to have some really good fresh tomatoes that just get blended up and only added at the end. When you cook down the tomatoes, you get a lot of the robust, sweet flavors. But what you lose is the freshness and the aroma of the tomato. But then, you save some of those aside before you actually cook it down. You blend it up and you add it at the end. And so you get the freshness, you get the acidity, but then you also get the meatiness, the sweetness, and the earthiness of the super cooked down tomatoes. And it's the same idea here. The bell peppers, we're showing off two different sides of the bell pepper and showing off its versatility and everything that it's able to do. And this entire rant was just me saying, I had two bell peppers and I did different things with them. And yet, it's a concept that I get so excited for. Also, yes, this is a food channel. This is a cooking show. Welcome on in. Okay? That is where you can get so creative in a kitchen. There's so much creative potential. Think about all the different things that you can do with something. We could even have chunks of tomato. We could have added tomato later on. We're not going to do anything crazy like that because it's a fairly simple soup. But my friends, that is where you can really start expressing yourself. I'm a huge minimalist. I'm a huge minimalist when it comes to cooking. I want to have as few ingredients as possible to get the product that I want. I don't believe in having dishes with 30 million fucking components. But the fewer components you have, the more you can pay attention to them. The more love you can give to every single one of your components. And that's what we're doing with the bell pepper. Do I think a tomato hat is okay for shakshuka? What tomato hack? Oh, shakshuka isn't actually cooked that long that I feel like it matters as much. But I guess you could just make a base tomato sauce with what I just said. Of course you can. Tabayo, guess what? You can do it. Just try it and figure out what you want out of it. Just think about your intentions. Cooking is all about intentionality. It's all about thinking, what is the end product that I want? If you want to get that super complex tomato sauce flavor, go for it. If you want just a fresh tomato sauce, you can do that. It's up to you. You don't need my permission to experiment in a kitchen. Okay? I'm encouraging all of you to please experiment. So my friends, guess what? We cut up the bell pepper and we shave down the sides. We keep all of the seeds intact on the inside. The subtitle will be cooking theory. Yes, everything that I'm showing you guys is theory. I'm not teaching anybody here a recipe. Everything that I'm showing you is theory and how to build an understanding of the kitchen, huh? I am teaching you all how to understand cooking. Also, Doling, I'm not sure what you're trying to say. Everything I'm showing you here, my friends, it's theory. It's how to get excited about these things. Okay, my friends, let's think about the size of the bell peppers that we want. I don't want massive chunks of bell pepper. So we're just going to first cut it up into nice little strips like so. We're looking for a small to medium dice, whatever that means to you. The only thing is we have to keep the size of it fairly consistent. Keep the size consistent, right? Because you don't want some that are undercooked, you don't want some that are overcooked. Right? You want to make sure that all of your bell peppers are cooking at the same pace. They're cooking at the same rate. Okay? Let's cut this up into strips. You can even keep it like this if you want big pieces of bell pepper. But I'm imagining what I want for my soup, and I want little pieces of it. I don't want massive strips. Nothing that I am doing here is a hard given rule. You don't have to use green bell peppers. You can use whatever vegetables you want as long as you know how to cook them. Okay? So, let's go ahead and take a little bundle of bell pepper. Let's take some of these strips. We're going to stack them up, just like so. Taking your time to do so. And then we're going to cut these up into nice, evenly sized cubes. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a small to medium dice on the bell peppers. I don't want the bell peppers so small that they disappear, but I don't want the bell peppers so big that it'll be the entire spoonful when you're ready to take a little bite of the soup. Okay? So that's why I'm cutting things the way I am. You can be as intentional with this as you want, and remember, the bigger you cut it, the longer it's going to take to cook. The smaller you cut it, the less it has to cook. Take the bell peppers, and I'm going to set them aside. Using the bench scraper, yeah? Beautiful. Next stack, we're going to do 2 more stacks just to make sure we're not bunching this up too much. You don't have to be so crazy about this as I am. I'm just enjoying the process of stacking all of this up. Stack it up, and we're using the full length of the knife, and we're slicing it, and we're getting cubes, lovely little cubes of bell pepper, my friends. I wanted a very nice vegetable soup, right? It's cold, it's the winter right now in New York, it is unpleasant, it is windy, and I had these leftover meatballs. So we're making this beautiful soup full of vegetables, full of nutritional value. I wanted something very vegetal, quite healthy in this regard. Okay, excellent. Last little stack of the bell peppers, rather. Oh, I love this knife, everybody. I'm so glad I got this thing finally sharpened. My Mizuno UX10, it's a beaut. Okay, cube time, cube time, cube time, cube time. We're cubing it up. We're cubing over here. Okay. Lovely little cubes of bell pepper. And guess what? We've now officially prepped and broken down an entire bell pepper. I'm going nice and slow. Everybody, am I going too slow for you all today? Am I pacing myself way too slowly? We have about 27 minutes left on the pressure cooker. I'm just trying to make sure that we have enough stuff to fill this time. Nope? Okay. Okay, if I'm good, then I'm good. Lovely. Next, let's do the carrots. So, here's what we got to think about now. All of these vegetables, they cook at a different pace. Soups can actually be quite difficult because you have to think about the orchestration of it all. The bell peppers will take fairly quickly to cook. The zucchinis will also take fairly quickly to cook. These bad boys right here. The carrots are actually going to take quite a bit of time to cook. They're going to take a little bit longer than the potatoes to get them to the toothsome texture that we want. And so we want to make sure that we're not mixing up the ingredients that are going to be added at different times and different intervals. Because I don't want overcooked components. I want everything to be ready as it needs to be ready. So let's do the zucchini now, because I'm going to have the zucchini basically go in at the same time as the bell peppers. And I'm going to have it all be on the same plate. So here's what we do, my friends. We take it, we start by cutting off the top, we cut off the bottom. I might only do 2 of these zucchinis and might just save one of these for later for something, because I've realized this is actually too many zucchinis. Cutting off the top, cutting off the bottom. Again, if you're composting, that would be great. If you're not, then it's totally fine too. We're just gonna throw it away. Zucchini officially taken care of. And now, let's talk about how do we actually get this into planks. First step, we're going to cut it in half just like this. All right, making a little bit of space for myself, making sure I have elbow room. My friends, how many times have you had a vegetable stacked up like this, and then you try to cut in, and guess what? It shaves off, and it slips off. How many times has that happened to you? I want to hear it. Show of hands. Somebody say, yes, chef. Me, chef. How many times does that happen to you? Probably 0? Okay. I know it's happened to at least one of you. I'm going to tell you why. You Also with cheese, great. I'm gonna tell you exactly why that happened. You know why? It's because you're cleaving it like an axe. This is not an axe. This is a knife, and a knife has plenty of surface area to actually slice something. You do this motion, it's going to pop out just like that. It's gonna pop out. You need a nice sharp knife, and you're going to slice it all the way down using the full length of the knife, and that way you get nice even planks. I cannot emphasize to you enough about how important of a step that is. Also, I think I might be cutting that a little too thin. We gotta adjust. I don't want paper thin pieces of zucchini in this. Yeah, that one was definitely cut a little too thin, but that's a lot better now. So now we're just planking it up. We're planking it, and then we're gonna cut it up. It's gonna be good. Using the full length. Let's try our best not to cut into what we already have, into the existing stack. 2, 3. Lovely. And guess what? You put it down, you push it down like that, you're only using a very small percentage of your knife. You're only doing a very small percentage of your knife. Okay? You're not actually slicing it. And now, my friends, we can think about the size of the pieces that we want. I want them slightly bigger than the bell pepper, but I don't want massive chunks of zucchini or anything, right? 1, 2, I'm gonna get this knife. Ooh, I just stabbed myself, ouch. I grabbed it by the blade. I want them to be a little bit bigger than the bell peppers, because I don't want zucchini that falls apart, but also I find that people, when they chunk up their zucchini too big, it just is just a big mouthful of zucchini. We take it and we set it aside. Next stack. 1, 2, pull it out. Right, you can use just the tip of the knife. Doesn't really matter at this point. And now, my friends, we're getting perfectly cubed zucchini. Right, that's what I'm looking for. Excellent. We gotta go through all of this beautiful stuff. What a healthy soup we have today, huh? Carrots, onions, celery. This one is a little bit of an odd piece. We'll get to that in a second. Let's do this part now. 1, 2, stack it, cube it. Beautiful. Let's do this little guy. And again, if you're in a French kitchen, you would typically discard all of these weird end pieces, but we're not doing that because we're cooking at home. Those end pieces have a place, and it's gonna go right into the soup, my friends. Okay. Next one. Let's grab it. Let's cut it in half. And we're going to do the same exact thing, my friends. Okay? We're going to just cut this into nice little planks. 1, 2, 3. And again, when you're shopping for zucchini in a supermarket, it makes it a lot easier for you to get the straightest ones possible. The odd ones, they're very nice if you're doing like whole roasted zucchinis. Like I forgot like what chef it is that did like the charred zucchini on the outside and then like super, super creamy on the inside. Something Thomas Keller, I think, probably, did that. If you're chopping zucchini up for something like a soup, you want to make sure that you're picking up the straightest ones possible so that you can then easily do all of this, what we're doing right here, right? And again, you want to continuously take stuff off of your cutting board once it starts getting a little too crowded. Okay. And keep it going, my friends. We have plenty of zucchini to go through. Ugh. I love zucchini. Okay? Chunk it up, chunk it up. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect, but the more even you make it, the more even all of it is going to cook. And you're not going to get mushy bits, you're not going to get super crunchy bits. For something like a soup, I want just very, very tender zucchini. I don't want mushy zucchini, and I don't want crispy zucchini. A lot of people, they have an obsession with crispy zucchini. It's a very modern chef thing to do, by the way, to have an obsession with crispy vegetables. There is a time and a place for everything. Traditionally, especially in Italian cooking, stuff like zucchini, man, it would just be cooked until it's so soft and tender. Right? But now, this is exactly where I want it to be. But this isn't a very traditional version of that because we're using leftover meatballs, Blissa. We're not doing the meatballs with rice or anything. Traditionally, in Albondigas, you would have rice in the meatballs themselves. Right? I need to also have some cilantro. We're doing this with parsley. Again, a little bit a-traditional, but we're making our own chicken stock. Okay, everybody, little recap session really quickly, right? For anybody that's just tuning in. What we're making today, we're making a little bit of meatball soup, right? It's inspired by Albondigas. Currently in the pressure cooker, we have chicken stock going that we made ourselves. We broke down a whole chicken. We now have just cut up a bunch of zucchini. We've cut up a bunch of bell pepper. I'm very glad I didn't do 3 zucchinis. We peeled up a potato and we charred the tomatoes, we charred the bell peppers, we charred the jalapenos. We're gonna make a lovely little paste. And now we gotta continue through the process and think about all the other vegetables that we want. So, next step coming on up is going to be the carrots and the celery. This little plate of vegetables that I have right here, okay? This is zucchini and the bell pepper. I'm gonna go ahead and set that aside behind me. That's right. Latina inspired. Yes, yeah, that is the new form, right? I don't know if it's actually been codified officially into the grammar, but I do know that there's like a lot of like Spanish like feminist movements that really pushed like the gender neutral form to not be Latino, but to be Latina, right? For it to have the E ending, right? And a lot of people fought back against it. They said, oh, that's not correct grammar-wise. Latino's already gender neutral. It's gender neutral and it's masculine. And so, I'm a very big supporter of that movement. My friends, let's peel up these carrots. And we're gonna do these things the same exact way that we did the zucchinis. We're gonna plank them, we're gonna cube them, we're gonna have a good time. Okay. But yes, that was a very intentional political choice just now that I had to use Latina in the title. With an E and not an O. But it's a fairly newer thing to do. I remember when I learned about it in high school, and they were like, yeah, this is a result of a lot of years of action and political action, and something I can stand behind. So my friends, once again, we're just peeling up all of the carrots. How's everybody's days going? What are you all up to today? Anybody have any New Year plans? Is fellas gender neutral? Well, that's a good question. So the answer to that is, it depends on what the people you're talking to say. Traditionally, masculine. I don't care. I use that in guys, right, as gender neutral all the time. But some people will have a personal and specific preference where they have their own, words are subjective, right? And everybody has different associations. Right? So really what you should do is, without getting like too into the weeds with is like, hey, is this cool? Can I refer to you in this way? Great. That's all you got to do. Okay. Now, my friends, we're going to do the same exact thing for the carrots that we did. You know what? No, we're not going to get so crazy about the carrots. Also, Jack, that's totally okay. Lovely to have you. No reason to be sorry. Oh, very fun. So, my friends, here's what we're going to do for the carrots. We're actually just going to cut this up into quarters for the thinner bits. Just like so. Nice and easy. 1, 2, perfect. Okay, and now for this guy right here, this one I think we might actually have to start planking up. So let's do the same exact way we did the zucchini. Am I a transgender? So, really quick, that's a question I just got. Yeah, I'm trans. But I will say, transgender is not a noun. Right? Nobody would be like, it'd be asking like, are you a cis? Right? And second thing is, people would typically find that offensive. Now, I'm quite open to questions, but it would typically be considered bad practice to ask if somebody is trans. Right? Without really knowing them, without establishing their repertoire. I just wanted to let you know, just in case. But yes, that I am. Very trans, in fact. So, I'm just going to plank this up. Beautiful. Why is it bad to ask if somebody's trans? Good question. Because it gets perceived as invasive. For a lot of people, that is very private information. And especially if you're a stranger to them, you do not have that sort of established repertoire. What you're basically asking is somebody's genital composition when you ask if somebody's trans or not. So, people, for some people, it's a matter of privacy. And you should just instead take them for like what they are. A very nice way, by the way, of asking for somebody's pronouns, Okay. I have a really huge suggestion. This is for everybody here. I never go up to anybody and ask them what their pronouns are. Most people do that when they clock somebody as trans and they do that. You know what I do? I say, hi, I'm Dara. I introduce myself. I use it's. What about you? And then I go to the person. And then I open them up. I never put somebody on the spot by asking them what their pronouns are. I always open it up by first saying what I am. In that way. Right? Because a lot of people, they'd be like, whoa, that's weird. Why are you asking me specifically? That's why I never go up to people, never do that, right? This idea of the pronoun circle and all of that. Right? It's very easy. Hi, I'm Dara, use it's. What about you? That's all you really need to ask about somebody's presentation. I never like going up to somebody and being like, you're going to tell me about what you are right now. Tell me this. Yeah, it's a lot. Anyways, but yes, people would typically find that as a fairly, not like maybe offensive, but definitely invasive. People would find that as invasive, right? To just come in and ask if somebody is trans. So, please don't do that to somebody else in the future. That's all. But I'm okay with it. I'm a very open book about a lot of things. So my friends, we planked it. We're cutting it up into cubes. The carrots you really want to keep consistent. Why am I using gloves? Because I have eczema on my hands. I have eczema, and so I protect my hands from using any kind of moisture. And also, guess what? Black nitrile gloves also look hot as fuck. I look pretty cute with them on, I think. Okay. Okay, my friends. We're getting in there. We're getting all this chopped up now. These are the carrots for the soup. You want to keep the width of them consistent. The carrots are basically going to take the longest to cook out of anything else. Okay, and that's all the carrots. Nice and easy. This is a soup. You don't got to go crazy with it, right? This is home food. This is the epitome of home food. Just think about all the different vegetables that you would like. Blue gloves are the craze? No, but I like everything I have is red and black. My shirt is red and black. My knives, everything. So I'm not into blue like that. Also, thank you so much to Lol Panda Man for the sub. Very sweet of you, very appreciated. Green Jack, no. So, lovely cubes of carrots. And now, let's go ahead and move on to Mr. Celery. We got all these different vegetables to prep, my friends. We're just basically buying time for the stock to be done. The stock is going to be done in 12 minutes. So remember, we started the celery off by basically peeling it. We broke off an end of it, and then we peeled it off. So, let's cut these down into some more sizable pieces. Just going to cut them all roughly in half. Then we're just going to cut them in half lengthwise like so. If they're very big, we'll cut them in half a couple more times than that. But yes, I don't recommend that everybody uses nitrile gloves nearly as much as I do. It's very wasteful. I just kind of have to because of the state of my hand skin. Skin on my hands, rather. Does anybody have any questions so far? Anything they want to know about? So, you have a polyester allergy? Ah, I see, Jack. But these are nitrile gloves. These are not latex. So I don't know if you have I don't know if polyester is a nitrile. But I love nitrile gloves. Nitrile is my ideal kitchen glove material. Any advice? Ooh, oh, good question. So, Keepers asked, any advice on washing pans with food stuck to them? So, my answer to you is it depends on the kind of pan. And it depends on what is actually stuck. Typically, you will have sugar that's stuck, or you will have, let's say, starch that is stuck, or you will have protein that is stuck. And each of those, you have to do slightly different things. Or you will have oil that is stuck. Here's your 4 kinds of things that stick. Oil, starch, protein, sugar. Sugar is the easiest. If you have burnt sugar, let's say you're making a caramel, that is stuck to your pan, water, boil it, rinse it out. The sugar dissolves in the boiling water, nice and easy. Starch, also pretty easy. Let's say you have like dried potato stuff, like really, really crusty things like that. If it looks crusty, it's usually starch. Soak it in water, it comes out. If that's not enough, boil water, it should come out. If that's not enough, get something abrasive for it to come off. Oil. Burnt oil is one of the most difficult things to get off because it no longer becomes soluble by soap. You need something like a chain scrubber. Let's say it's on a stainless steel pan, you need something very abrasive to take it off. Or get yourself something called Barkeeper's Friend. That's what you're gonna wanna use. Cast irons, to bio, I would wait a little bit. Cast irons, I wouldn't say ideal for the beginner cook. So, your macaroni is stuck, guess what? That's a starch stickage issue. Soak the whole thing in water, it'll be fine in an hour. Soak it in water, and you'll be okay. Promise. It depends on the kind of pan you have, it depends on the food, but typically if you have starch that is stuck, you just need to soak it. So my friends, celery. We're gonna go ahead and cut these up into little teeny tiny cubes. That was a very good question, and it's a very important question. That is not something a lot of people talk about. There is no general type of sticking, right? Sticking can happen for a lot of different reasons. The easiest to get rid of, in my opinion, are sugar and starch. The most difficult is oil. Proteins are like, if you're like stuck burnt pieces of meat, you gotta boil water, you gotta do something abrasive on it. It's just a little bit of elbow grease, really. So, celery, chopping all of it up. Also, hello to Mr. Tazaraki. Welcome on in. Mr., right? Anyhow, celery. Putting it onto my plate with all the carrots. They're actually going to be edited at separate times, but I'm just keeping them next to each other, right? I'm not mixing the two of them up. And guess what? The stock is almost done, so we'll be able to talk about that in a moment. Let's just get through this bundle of celery. And we're basically including the French mirepoix here, right? Carrots, onion, celery. Really simple. Burnt olive oil. Yes, burnt oil is super hard to get off. Because it basically polymerizes, right? I think that's the word. And then it no longer dissolves in soap. Whereas soap normally binds to both fat and water. Guess what? Look at all these vegetables. Bam! Carrots and celery. Other plate, we have a beautiful bell peppers. We have a beautiful zucchini. Everybody, let's do a little recap session. We're doing this really, really beautiful meatball soup. We charred some vegetables. We charred some bell peppers, some tomatoes, some jalapenos, and we're going to blend it down into a paste. We have these carrots, the celery, the zucchini, the bell peppers. We're also going to have some potatoes go inside and some onions and garlic. In my pressure cooker at the moment on high pressure, I have a chicken stock that's going, that's almost done. The chicken stock is almost done. Okay? And we've also made this lovely little toasted spice mixture of cumin, of coriander seeds, black pepper, and oregano. Okay? And now, my friends, we have to continue chopping up all the different vegetables that we have for today. Next one, I don't want a lot of onion in today's soup. Normally, I go pretty crazy with the onion. I find that the sweetness of onion in something like this can easily become overpowering. Makes the stream fun and educational, keepers. I'm very glad you think so. I'm trying my best here. We're gonna cut it in half. And again, just think about the size of onions that you really want in this. Right, this is the least amount of onion I ever really use for things. Normally, I'm onion maxing. Right, we cut it in half like this and we keep the root intact so that we can easily cut it up. Guys, there is a lot to cooking. There is not just one general method that you can apply to everything and every single vegetable. And I hope that I can just make cooking more accessible for everybody. I want to just help teach people and help them get to be at a point where they're comfortable in the kitchen. I've been cooking since I was 7 years old. Or at least obsessed with foods ever since I was 7 years old. And as a result, I've gone through so many pitfalls that I don't think other people necessarily have to go through. You can learn without having to go through pitfalls. And I was also on TV for it. That's right. I was on Chopped Junior. It is something that I actually very truly, genuinely believe in. You don't always have to learn by making mistakes. You don't always have to learn to touch a hot stove to know that it's hot and painful. Right? With enough guidance and with enough nurturing and care, you don't always have to learn through pain and suffering. Right? Other people learn that way, and then they will be able to warn you about it later. And this doesn't have to be so dramatic of an example, but I'm just, Also, Jack, I'm very glad. Did anyone in the household I grew up in cook a lot? Jake, the answer is, so I grew up in a Russian family, Russian Jewish family. My grandma would cook a lot, either of my grandmas. My mom didn't cook as much growing up. She would occasionally. But basically, what happened was I got very sick of Russian food, and I wanted to learn cooking for myself. Okay. So, my friends, we're making a bunch of incisions, and we're keeping it intact by the root. And all I'm going to do is just slice up the onion. Right? We're going to add it basically towards the end. I don't want the onions to completely fall apart. I might just mix this in with the zucchini and the bell pepper. Okay? Incisions, 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 not cutting all the way through to the root end so that all of it stays together. We're basically fanning out the onion. I was on Chopped Junior, that's right. I was on Chopped Junior when I was 13 years old. But I think I only got really good at cooking when I was about 17 or 18 years old, because that's when I started to really understand the importance of food, especially in politics, in theory and philosophy, and life and economic connections. And up until that point, the cooking I was doing was basically useless. Right? And now I'm at a point where I feel like I'm very good. I don't think I got very good, or at least I don't think my cooking was very meaningful up until I was 18 years old. Okay. My friends, we've now chopped up all of this onion. We're going to go ahead and once again, using a handy dandy little bench scraper, scrape it all up. I did put in the hours, and I went and I learned through so much trial and error, you guys wouldn't believe. You guys would not believe. Truthfully, a ridiculous amount. Okay, guess what? I think we've actually prepped the majority of the vegetables. The last ones that we're going to have to do are going to be the potatoes. The potatoes are going to happen after the carrots. So my friends, here's the order of operations. The stock is almost done. Once the stock is done, we're going to go ahead and strain it out. We're not going to do anything crazy. We're not sauteing any one of these components. We're not sauteing shit today. We're not frying anything in oil. This is a simple soup. This is a simple home soup. We've already put in a lot of effort and technique into everything else. This is going to be a very simple boiled soup. We don't have to saute anything, I promise you. So, we got to make the paste of all of these different ingredients. We got to blend it up. We got to strain out the stock. We got to chop up the potato. We got to chop up the meatballs. And we've also got to chop up the garlic. So, the garlic can happen a little bit later on. The potatoes should probably happen right now, because the potatoes go in after the carrot. Here's the order of operations. First, the carrot cooks for a little bit. Then the potatoes. Then the celery. Okay? Then we add in the vegetables, the zucchini, the onions, all of that. Then we add in the meatballs. And yes, Canadian gamer, the meatballs are already made. These are my leftover lamb meatballs from yesterday that I thought would be excellent to repurpose in a soup. And the meatballs are going to be basically added last. So here's what we do, my friends. Think about the size of the potatoes that you want for this. We're going to cut it in half. Then we're just going to keep cutting it like this. Perfect. And now, because of how starchy it is going to just end up sticking to your knife. The wetter it is, the less it's going to stick. Right? We're basically making big old steak frites here. It just sticks to your knife. There's nothing that you can really do about it besides wedge it out. It's adhesive, right? People used to make adhesive out of potatoes. And now the potatoes, you really want to make sure they're consistently cut. We're doing a very small to medium dice here. Again, this soup, I want to be able to get a little bit of everything in every single spoonful. Okay? I don't want to get big bites of potato and then little tiny bits of onion. So we're making sure that everything is going to be roughly close to each other in size. You can make everything as big or small as you want, but the size is very functional. It's all about your intentions, my friends. Cooking is all about intention. It's all about thinking and imagining what you want to be able to do with this thing. Okay, about 2 more minutes left on the stock. We had it cooking on high pressure for about 50 minutes in total. And I'm going to show you how beautiful and golden she has become. So, going through the potatoes. And again, if you pull out your knife, right, everybody? It's time to test your pull-out game. If you're cutting it in like this, you're going into the thickest part of the knife. If you don't want your potatoes to particularly stick, if you have a little bit more space on your cutting board, you slice it like that. You go hilt to tip, excuse me. Right? And it won't stick nearly as much because you're getting thinner and thinner. Right? So we're not pushing in, we're pulling out. Clip that. Sorry, I'm not going to do the cringy clip that shit. I just couldn't resist in the moment. Okay, that's totally fine. Little teeny tiny cubes of potato. Let's go ahead and get all of them back into the water, making sure that they don't oxidize, because we're working with potatoes, my friends. Okay? We're working with potatoes here. And potatoes, exposed to oxygen, they will oxidize. And guess what? The pressure cooker is now done. I am going to release the pressure. We're doing what's called an instant pressure release. So we're letting all of it hiss out. And now, let's do the other little bit of potato here. Ooh. You can hear that hissing, that's all the pressure releasing. Okay, we're doing the same exact thing to this potato half as we did with the other. My friends, look how beautiful the soup is. We're filling it up full of vegetables, comforting. What more could you ask for? This is what it means to be alive, eating delicious soup. Simple, hearty, perfect on a cold day, and more than anything, more importantly, we're using up the leftover meatballs that we've had from yesterday. We're making sure that we're transforming it into something else. And that's why I love this type of food to make it at home. To me, it's so special that way. And again, the bigger your cutting board is, the more space you have, the more difficult it'll be for things to really slip out. I'm gonna go ahead and scrape this up. The pressure is almost fully released, and I'll show you guys exactly what that all looks like. Last little batch of potatoes, and I'll show off all my vegetables. Okay. You clipped it. You didn't have to, Jack. It wasn't that funny. But thank you, though. Okay. Let's get the last of the potatoes inside. Beautiful. My friends, guess what? We are almost done with all of the vegetable prep. The last things that we really need to do are going to be the parsley and chopping up the meatballs and the garlic. But guess what? Let's take a look at everything. First, bell pepper, zucchini, onion. All of these are getting added at the same time. Next, potatoes. Soaking in water to make sure they don't oxidize. Next, carrots and celery separated beautifully. Okay? And we're doing that to make sure that we don't add them in at the same time because the celery has to happen after the carrots. Our spice mixture, cumin, oregano, coriander, black pepper that we toasted and ground ourselves. Over here on the stove at the moment is my charred vegetables that we'll make a vegetable paste out of. We have the meatballs that we're still gonna chop up. Guess what? We've done a lot. I'm gonna start moving some things aside, getting some stuff behind me, getting a little bit of space in my kitchen. Right? And remember, separate the things so that the things that are added together are together and the things that add separately, you keep them separate. The pressure cooker has now released all of its pressure. Everybody, do we have any questions? We're now approaching the boiling phase of the soup. We're about to get into the part where we actually go from a bunch of raw vegetables and chicken stock into a proper soup. And so, I'm gonna wipe down my cutting board really quickly. The pressure cooker is almost done releasing all of its pressure. It cooked for 50 minutes at high pressure. Does anybody have any questions at this moment in time? Personal questions, questions about the food, questions about anything that we're doing today. Cream or milk for the soup. Jack, we're not doing either of those things. But typically I use half and half for soups these days, if I'm doing like a cream soup. But there is none of that, none of that. It's a very simple soup, very light, right? It's not like a bisque. It's not pureed. This is all gonna be just boiled. It's a clear soup. So there is no need for any milk or cream. Besides Jack, anybody else have any questions before we move on to the next process? I'm gonna show off what my stock looks like. We're gonna strain it, and I'm gonna make my vegetable puree. Have I ever had a pressure cooker explode? Grab it? Thank goodness I have not. I don't know how often those happen these days, but I have not. As long as you're safe with your pressure cooker, that should not happen. What was the stock made from? Linkers, we made it from, you know what? When I take out the stock, I'm just gonna show you instead. So let's make a little bit of space and let's go to the stove. So these were all of my lovely little vegetables, all right? These I'm gonna set aside. These we're going to address in a moment. We'll get back to them. Let's go to the pressure cooker pot. Excellent, looking good. Ugh. And this, my friends, is a big, beautiful batch of chicken stock made in a pressure cooker at high pressure. Also, thank you, Ritual. Right, so what are we doing here? We had some chicken bones. We broke down a whole chicken. We made a stock out of the bones, out of the wings, out of an entire onion, and then we had the celery scraps, the carrot scraps. We added some bay leaves, and we had some black pepper. So very classic Western style chicken broth. Oh no. Yikes. What do I do here? What do I have to do to get rid of you? All right. I don't have any mods on it right now, right? Yeah, that's it. Buddy, you came in here. You had one chance. I was very nice to you. I don't tolerate that anymore. Everybody, I'm a very forgiving streamer, aren't I? I'm a very forgiving streamer. This guy came in here. They said to me, are you a transgender? And I corrected them a little bit, and they said I had said something that makes sense. And I was very gentle. I was very patient. Get out of here. I don't tolerate that shit. Okay. It's fine. It's okay. It's not a big deal. I don't mind it. I'm just entertained by the audacity, I suppose. Okay, moving on. Let's not let this interrupt the show. My friends, we have this beautiful chicken stock right here. Golden, delicious, plenty of chicken fat on top. We don't need any additional fat. And we are using a chicken stock, but these are lamb meatballs that we have. These are the leftover lamb meatballs from yesterday. Okay, it's a very beautiful stock. So this is also going to need to get set aside for a little bit because right now my priority is what? I want to make the vegetable paste. I have a little blender. We're going to make a vegetable paste, my friends. I'm just going to set that up now. I'm setting it up over here so that you all can get a nice good shot of it all. Perfect. Okay. And now we're going to go ahead and fill up the blender. Is food bad for your health? Are we talking about carcinogens here? And it's a good question. And the answer is, if it is, then that means barbecuing and grilling is just as bad for you, right? And I think there is some research to support that, but makes food taste better. So, I don't care. My friends, we're gonna make the vegetable paste for the soup. We're going to throw in the tomatoes, plop them in, plop. That's the sound they make as they go in. We're gonna actually probably have to do these one by one because I don't think they'll all fit in at the same time. Okay, we're gonna do these in 2 batches. So yes, the chicken stock is because I bought a whole chicken and I was able to get the bones out of it. Let's go back to the stove and let's blend this up. Yeah, I love having a just whole chicken around at all times so I can make a nice fresh stock. And lamb meatballs is just a really nice way of using up my existing leftovers. So, that's already all plugged in. I did stab myself slightly. Oh well. Blend it up. Keep it going. Okay, my friends, that is the first batch of this. We're going to do the next one. Remember, we had to let this stuff cool down because this is a closed blender. This is a shitty little NutriBullet, right? Ninja NutriBullet, whatever they're called. If you have something hot in here, it will explode because of all the pressure. Okay? So you need to absolutely, without a doubt, let these things cool down. Now, all of that would change and we wouldn't need to let things cool down if I got a Vitamix, cough, cough, exclamation mark, wish list, if anybody has too much money. But if you have an open air blender, right, something that actually has like a little thing on top that lets you blend hot things because that lets all the steam and pressure escape. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. I'm just going to pour that into my Dutch oven. I'll show you that in a second, guys, don't you worry. We're basically just making a little salsa and it's all gonna cook down. I'm going to fill it up again. So these are all the jalapenos, these are all the bell peppers, all the tomatoes. Really beautiful stuff. Making a little salsa, essentially. Okay. That's all filled up. Take it, throw it back into the blender, nice and smooth. And I'm cleaning up as I go. All the way, my friends. And listen, you can strain this out if you really wanted to. You don't have to, though. I don't think it's particularly necessary. I'm going to get rid of the blender now. We have no more use for it. I unplugged the mic or the camera. That was really fucking funny. Oh, that was so funny. Okay, I'm not gonna do that again. I have to quickly adjust it. Guys, please remind me to, you know, not do that again. Especially, do not unplug a camera dummy battery while it's going. That's how you fry it. Okay, we're so back. We've never been more back in our lives. This is the right plug this time. It's not gonna happen again. That was a pretty funny thing to happen. I was gonna say you can strain out the blended stuff if you really wanted to. I don't think it matters too much for this. I think it's a complete non-issue. Right? And now let's get a Dutch oven back in here. Let me make sure that the camera is properly focused. Sorry guys, I don't mean to do this right now. I just want to double check that it's okay. Great. Lovely. Everything should be okay now. Looks good? Great. Excellent. So my friends, that's all of the pureed vegetables. The pureed tomato, the pureed bell pepper. We're going to add the rest of it in. Okay, and now we can just get rid of this. I'm going to keep this soaked in water to make sure this doesn't dry up, because the dried up vegetable paste is very, very difficult to get rid of. It's nice and smoky, right, because we charred everything. Next step, we got to go ahead and strain in the stock now. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to set up a nice little metal strainer, just like so. Perfect. I'm gonna get my tongs again that I already threw in the dishwasher, but it'll be okay. We gotta get rid of all the big pieces, right? We gotta get rid of all the big pieces of bones. Okay, because we don't want that going into a lovely, delicious little soup here. We don't want any of it, right? So any of those big chunks, now is the time to pull them out. You don't have to get too crazy about it. The strainer will take care of most of it. And you can see the celery, the carrots, all of that stuff. It's imparted a bunch of flavor inside. So just get rid of some of the biggest chunks, some of the stuff that will clog up the strainer as we try to pour it inside. Oh, just plop it all in. And again, you don't have to be perfect about this. The strainer will just take care of the rest of it. It just makes our lives a little easier to do this in advance. Okay? And now, let's strain it right in, right directly inside. And take it. Ugh. Can you guys see it from this angle? I suppose you can, kind of. And now, we'll just pour it all in. Beautiful. Whole bunch of chicken stock. And the strainer naturally takes care of any little pieces that might have fallen in. Excellent. And guess what, my friends? That is now a big, beautiful pot of stuff ready for the soup. Let's go ahead and give this all a nice little stir. And we're going to get it onto the heat. We're going to mix all of that in. That's all the pureed vegetables that we've had. Okay? All fizzy from all the air that we ended up putting inside. And this, my friends, is the base of today's soup. This is where it all begins. Delicious, but remember, this has absolutely no salt at this stage. It's going to end up reducing quite a bit, so don't worry about the salinity at this point, but it will need it. Excellent. Nice and spicy too from the jalapenos. Really delicious. And that's still without any salt, without any substantial seasoning. Let's begin. So, here's what we gotta do, my friends. So, is there a way to prevent the liquid from dripping down the pot? Yes, there is, Duolingo. That's because you're not pouring it fast enough. Pour it faster, and water does not adhere to the side. If you ever find that water sticks to something, like let's say like down a glass, it's because you didn't tilt it fast enough. Tilt it fast enough, and I promise you it won't stick. Here, you know what? My friends, do we do a little physics demonstration? You know what? Let's actually get it going, and I'm going to do a physics demonstration. So, spices, coriander, oregano, cumin, black pepper. Going in now. We're also going to do, just for fun, just because I feel like it, although you really do not have to, especially because we made it homemade chicken stock, I'm still going to do some of the chicken bouillon, because to me, it's a very authentic flavor in a lot of Mexican dishes, right? To have like the chicken bouillon. So I'm going to have a spoon or two of that in there. Little meatiness can't hurt anybody. Okay. We're going to get that up to a boil in just a moment. But first, we're going to get the carrots inside. We're going to get the carrots. Get it nice and low so it doesn't splash. Get all the carrots going. And once it's boiling, we'll add the potatoes. And it's okay if some celery pieces slip in. Just get most of the carrot inside. It's fine. Don't worry about the celery too much. The celery will naturally take care of itself. And already, the flavor is that much more intensified because we cheated a little bit with the bouillon. And now we're beginning a really, really lovely pot of soup, my friends. So, that's going. The carrots have to go. We're going to bring it to a boil, cook it for a few minutes, and then we're going to add the potatoes. Okay, that's the order of operations, and we'll have to deal with all the other stuff. Everybody, I know today has been like a really, really cozy, chill stream. I hope that's been like okay. I know this has not been like the most interesting one by far, but I hope you're all getting something out of it nonetheless. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a little demonstration. I'm gonna do a little demo for all of you right now. Hopefully I don't make a huge fucking mess. And maybe I'll just be completely wrong about this, but I'm confident. Guys, I am on the verge of making a huge mess right now. So, I have a cup of water. Also, hi Bloom, hope you're doing good. Water, bowl, physics time. You ready? We're gonna pour slowly. And look at it. Oh shit, it spilled. It did the thing. But look at it. Look at it. It's sticking to the sides. Let's give it a little rotation. And now let's pour fast. Nothing happens. Didn't stick to the sides at all. That's your physics lesson. That's your fluid dynamics lesson. Ah! Sorry. My man came out for a second there. I felt good about the fact that I was successful. And I did end up spilling some water on the floor. Point is, pour fast and stuff won't stick to the glass. Again? You want me to do that again? Fine, I'll do it again. I'll do it again just to prove a point. Just that we can replicate it for science. Okay? Fast. And then look, I pulled it back slowly so it's still stuck. Fast. Perfect. And then slow. And it's going all over the place. And it's making a huge mess. Look at this. We pour slowly. What is this? Nah, that's not what I'm looking for. That's not what we're looking for at all. Everybody, that's your Daramgar physics lesson. Pour fast and hard and pull it back fast too. Pull it back fast and it won't happen again. Okay? It's very important. It's actually a great cook. This is not even just for people who cook. This is actually universal for everybody. I don't know if it's physics or if it's something else here. I don't know what I'm doing here. Point is, it's a very useful tip. Okay, let's look at the pot of soup that we have going. And we'll talk about everything else in just a moment. Ooh, that's a big old pot, my friends. So, guess what? This is the pot of soup going. Remember, everybody, little recap session. We're making a meatball soup. We've done everything but the meatballs, basically. The meatballs we're using leftover from yesterday. We made a chicken stock. I know this might not be the most appealing looking soup in the world so far, but we'll get there. We'll get some herbs in there. We'll make it really lovely. We'll make it really, really full of stuff. That's a little dark. I liked having a light on it. So, we made a homemade chicken stock with chicken bones, with some carrot scraps, with some celery scraps, with some onion, with some bay leaves and black peppercorns. We added in, after we made that stock, we added in some carrot. We're bringing this up to a boil now because we want to cook the carrots a little bit, and then we'll add in the potatoes and cook the whole thing for about 10 minutes before we add in the celery and the other vegetables. We added in some toasted cumin, some coriander, some black pepper. We've also added in this pureed vegetable mixture of tomatoes, of bell peppers, of jalapenos for the spice, bell peppers for the vegetalness and the smokiness, and the tomatoes for the sweetness and smokiness. Is everybody following so far? I want to hear resounding, unanimous yes, chef, please, and thank you. Perfect. And now, my friends, it's time to do a boil. We're going to do a boil. We're going to have to orchestrate everything. We're going to have to make sure everything happens at the same time. I am operating purely off of intuition. I'm able to do this because I've cooked for so long, of when to add each ingredient. I don't actually have an exact timing of, oh, this is the exact time this has to happen. I'm going to cook these for a little bit, and then I'm going to add the potatoes, and then I'm going to cook the potatoes a little bit, and then I'll add the other stuff. Her name is Anel. It'd mean the world to me. I don't know if I pronounced her name correct. If that's how I pronounce her name, let me know. Okay. It's going. We're going to give that a couple minutes before we add in the potatoes. We just want to give the carrots a bit of a head start. Anel? I'm not sure actually how to say that correctly. I apologize. Anna-Ellie? Can you spell it out completely phonetically for me, please? Okay. So, my friends, we have to now think about all the other components. We've done a little physics demonstration. We're going to let this boil for just a few moments. Let's talk about the other things that are actually going to go into the soup. You know what we gotta have? It's a soup. It's going to be a beautiful soup. We're going to have some of the meatballs going inside. You know what we have to do for the meatballs? We're gonna have to cut them up. Now, typically for meatball soups, you wouldn't really have a chopped up meatball or anything. We're working with leftover ones, and I actually just want to get it to a more workable size. Think about how massive these balls are. These are some pretty big balls. Okay? If I were to add these in as is, what would happen is we would just get a big piece of meatball and then no vegetables in every single spoonful. Because of the fact that we're working with already cold pre-made meatballs, we have a bit of a privilege here. We're a little bit lucky in that sense. We get to just cut them in half and cut them into quarters after. These are the lamb and beef meatballs made with a little parsley paste inside. I'm gonna try one. Delicious. And this way, we'll be able to evenly distribute everything. Also, Jack, I don't think I'm comfortable doing that live on stream. I've just thought about it for a second. I was like, I think I'm okay. I'm sorry. Okay, my friends. We're just cutting these in half and we're cutting them into quarters. You can cut these as big or as small as you would like. In fact, this is barely a meatball at this point, but these were the lovely lamb meatballs that we made yesterday with country bread. They were super, super delicious then. They're super delicious now. All we gotta do is just cut them up, and guess what? The soup is already boiling away. Now would be an excellent time to add in the potatoes, I believe. So let's head back to the stove. Look at it go. Look at it cook. Look at it boil. You don't have to put a lid on it. You don't have to do anything crazy. Guys, this is a home soup that we're doing. This isn't pretentious. This isn't fine dining. We're giving things a lot of effort and technique, but you don't have to simmer it gently. We cut everything into nice little small cubes. Okay? The carrots are dancing. That's right. They're happy to be here. Okay, I'm just quickly draining out as much of the potato water as possible. I'm not even doing it through a strainer. It's okay if some potato water gets in. It's not a huge deal. Okay? And then we take the potatoes and we go right to the pot like this so it doesn't splash. You do it from up high, it's going to splash all over the place. And a Dutch oven is lovely for this application because it does a good job of holding in all that heat. Okay? And now this, we're going to now set a timer. Once this comes back up to a boil, we're going to cook it for 10 minutes and then add the celery. We give the carrots a bit of a head start because the carrots are going to take a little bit longer than the potatoes. We're just going to get it back up to a boil, my friends. Okay, let's keep going with all these meatballs. Okay, cut them in half, cut them in quarters, cut them as big or as small as you would like. I still want my meatballs to be bigger than the rest of the vegetables. And the reason for that is because this is a meatball soup. It is in the name. Okay? It is in the name. And so, you want to be able to pick out the meatballs and then still get a bunch of the vegetables. But you don't want to cut this the same exact size, at least for me. And so how big or small you cut them is completely and totally up to you. That's such a good meatball, man. And the lamb is so flavorful. And traditionally, you would use, what would you use? You would use rice in these meatballs, but I'm just repurposing leftover meatballs from yesterday. They were made with bread. Do I have an Instagram account? I sure do. It's just Daramgar. So take my Twitch handle and take off the I and the A. But I'm not too active. I'm just active on Twitter. I'm a Twitter e-girl, first and foremost, okay? Get it right. So, let's take all the meatballs off. They have now outlived their use. And remember, anytime you add something nice and cold into your pot of boiling water, it's going to cool the whole thing down. Meatballs are already ready, chopped up, ready to go for when we need them. Beautiful. Now, I want to do some parsley in all of this too. I want to do some parsley, and I want to do parsley in 2 installations. I like the texture and taste of really cooked down parsley. I also like having the raw parsley as a bit of a garnish. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick through a bunch of the parsley, and we're going to throw it on into the soup. You all ready? Is everybody ready? Guess what? This water is now boiling yet again. Kitchen timer, set it all to 10 minutes, and we're going to add the other stuff. Delicious. Okay. I'm just going to get some stuff away from here as well. Just pop some things into my dishwasher while I have a second, while I am able. Get rid of it now. Won't be a problem later on, my friends. This is the plate where we'll be transferring stuff on. And now let's get my parsley out of the fridge. I'm just keeping it in there. I was just keeping it there the whole time to keep it nice and fresh. In fact, I should actually probably add the celery in now. Who am I shitting here? Yeah, no. This should be going in now. Yeah, this celery needs to be going. That needs to be happening. That needs to be going. Okay. So, guess what? I have a bunch of this really, really delicious fresh parsley here. We washed it up yesterday. It's already ready to go. We're going to get a bunch of it out. Almost all is going to go into today's soup. Because we want that freshness, right? We want to be able to go through all those cooked vegetables and get some nice herbs in the whole deal. And we're going to add the parsley in 2 steps. We're going to have some of it go almost at the end. So you're getting a lot more of the fresher parsley. And then you're going to have a lot more of it as well that's cooked down into the soup. And now, my friends, we have to do the painstaking process of getting rid of the stems. You know why? Because I hate the texture of the parsley stems. And it gives us something very nice and convenient to do in the meantime. Okay. Just going through the parsley, my friends. Getting off the stem. You don't have to do this process. Everybody, I'm pretty excited to eat today's soup. It's just comforting, simple home food. Nothing in this stream is a radical new technique for all of you. The stem of the texture issue, very funny, Duolingo. While I'm doing such an arbitrary and repetitive process, does anybody have anything they want to say to me? And we're going to go through, of course, how to chop up parsley, how to keep it nice and intact. We'll do all of that, don't you worry. Anything anybody want to say to me, any questions that you all may have. Even the smallest, littlest questions. It could be about something entirely else. It does not have to be related to the dish that we're cooking today. I take and I welcome any and all general food questions because I'm looking to help as many people as possible. That is my goal. Taking a second, I got to check my notifs. Okay. Who do I main in Smash? I main Ness in Ultimate. I main Ness in Ultimate for quite some time. And I play Marth in Melee. Okay. What is the largest animal you can take in a fight? Largest Pokemon I can take in a fight. That's a different conversation. Largest animal I can take in a fight? Sorry, I made it weird. I made it strange. Guys, don't worry about it. Am I cooking for one? No, I'm cooking for two. Largest animal I can take in a fight? I feel like a very small bear. I feel like a panda. If a panda decided to get aggressive. If a panda got aggressive with me, I'd put him in his place. Jack, that's a lot more of a complicated question. That's not one I'm going to be answering right now. You're totally okay, though. But yes, I cook for myself and my mom because we live together. Otherwise, if I was just cooking for one, do you guys understand how much food there would be? We have so much food in the freezer that I make on streams, guys. It's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, I'm going to go break into a zoo just to test my strength against him. Just to prove a point, really. Okay. Again, we're just going through all the stems. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. It's just nice because it gives us a little something to do. And again, traditionally, you would use something like parsley in this, right? Or cilantro, rather. You'd have cilantro and parsley side by side in tandem. In this case, I'm just using the parsley because that's what I had at home. The entire goal of this soup was for me to get rid of things that would be going bad. Right? So my meatballs, I didn't want them to spoil. I didn't want to just eat like reheated meatballs. I didn't want my parsley to spoil or anything. And so that's what we're doing. We're using up everything that we have. And I didn't go out of my way to go buy more cilantro because I didn't want to have a surplus of herbs. Right? Because something like cilantro, I mean, that goes bad 5 to 6 days even when stored optimally. Or even a week if you get really lucky. Right? So that's why we're doing things the way that we do. Getting all the parsley off. You cook a lot with meat. Oh, this is a good question. Thank you, Emma. So, Emma, you've asked me, you cook a lot with meat. Are you comfortable enough with vegetarian cooking to show us some techniques? And the answer is absolutely I am. I cook with a lot of meat at home because I want to get a lot of protein in me. And I just really enjoy eating meat. That's why I cook with it so much. I'm 100% capable. I have a lot of vegan friends, I have a lot of vegetarian friends because I'm gay. Gay people are vegan, it just happens, right? That entire social world, right? So I become very good at cooking vegan and vegetarian dishes. I just never really make it explicitly for myself with the intention of it being vegan or vegetarian. Specifically, I love making Indian food. Indian food was never really thought about traditionally as like the Western constructs of vegan and vegetarian. You would have some dairy products, but there would be a lot of parts of India where you're not eating any meat whatsoever. Naturally, right? So I do that kind of cooking. I naturally become very comfortable with vegetarian cooking. What I don't like doing, let me tell you something right now. I'm going to talk to you all for a second. I'm going to talk to you about something right now. I like making food that happens to be vegetarian or vegan. There's a difference here. You know what I hate? Whitewashed interpretations of vegan dishes where they consider things as meat substitutes instead of something else entirely. I'll give you a great example of this. The entire obsession, you know what, I'm going to call it what it is. The entire fetishism of treating tofu as a meat substitute is absolutely ridiculous to me. It's ridiculous to me. I understand wanting to get a product that is a little bit closer to the thing that you have, but tofu is so beautiful. Tofu is such a beautiful thing. I love firm tofu. I love silken tofu. I love soft tofu. Seeing people buy tofu, squeeze it to hell and back, cut it into little strips, and get a tofu bacon, I am like, you have just taken this ingredient out of its context and have now just made it do something it's not very good at. Instead of really respecting and understanding how this ingredient would be used in a lot of different cultures. I'm not telling you can't do that. I just strongly disagree with the entire intention of it. I love food that happens to be vegan. I really do. Oh, I love all these different things. I love seitan, I love tofu, I love all these different things. But I hate thinking about them as a meat substitute because they're proteiny and kind of spongy. They don't have the texture, they don't have the shred, they're entirely different things. And so, when I make stuff with something like tofu inside of it, I will never, never, never consider it as a meat substitute explicitly. Never. And so, I'm very strong opinions about this. I am not some fucking, bizarre person who's like, oh, vegans, they need to eat meat. You gotta get your protein in. Not that at all. In fact, I think it's the most ethical thing that you could possibly do. And I'm breaking some of my own moral codes by eating as much meat, especially sourced from where it is. I'm the biggest hypocrite there is in that regard. I think it's a very noble thing. But I hate when people don't think about vegan food in like the actual authentic context that those ingredients would be used. Look at Indian cooking, look at some, indigenous cooking, look at Mexican cooking, right? Look at all these different places and see how their food was naturally vegan or vegetarian without them ever having that intention to make it that way. And those are the most meaningful dishes to me. How do I feel about impossible meats? Great, actually, I feel good about them. As long as the emissions aren't bigger than actual meat, right? If the waste and the emissions aren't as big as actual meat, then go ahead, 100%. I care about the environment. Well, in that case, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. Okay. But there is a big issue, and it is that we eat a lot of meat in our society. That is a social issue. It's not an individual issue. It's because we got really, really accessible meat because it became so cheap from factory farming, and so everybody started eating it, and not just the really, really wealthy. It's a very complex relationship between class. It's a very, very complex relationship between class and history and the role that meat used to serve in what is considered to be an offcut. It's a very complicated thing, really, and I have a lot of thoughts on it. But ultimately, what I would like to do is to make, in the future, whatever way it would be possible for meat to be produced a lot more ethically. And in order for meat to actually be produced a lot more ethically, we would need to eat like a tenth of what we do now. Right? And I am the biggest hypocrite there is when it comes to this. Okay. That is now cooked for 10 minutes. It started to reduce a little bit. The potatoes are getting a little bit soft. The carrots are getting a little bit soft. This is the best time right now to add in some of the zucchini, the bell peppers, and the onions. And now, my friends, guess what? We have a big pot of soup happening here. This is going to cool the whole thing down. We added it in later so this didn't get overcooked. We got to bring the whole thing back up to a boil. It'll be faster if you put a lid on it. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a lid on it just to expedite this process. Even though you guys can't see the beautiful vegetables going at the same time. How much is too much rice for eating weekly, Jack? That is not a question I can answer for you. Eat as much as you would like for your own caloric and bodily and nutritional goals. I can't say that for you. Here in the Netherlands, we have a grocery section for vegan meat replacements, yes. Yeah, and the reason why vegan meat replacements exist. So, fundamentally, what is a meat replacement? A meat replacement is a Band-Aid. It is effectively a Band-Aid. It is a Band-Aid to the want and desire that we have. Because we grew up in a system, in a world where meat, despite it being produced so unethically, is in absolute abundance all the time. Okay? And so, vegan meat replacements, they exist to help people sort of recreate their experiences that they've been conditioned to from a young age to have this amount of meat accessible to them. I don't judge people for getting meat replacements. I don't. They grew up in this world. I understand why they do it. But what we can do is think about the next generation and think about how do we condition them to start eating less meat. This is an intragenerational problem. Because it's a lot easier to teach a baby to do something than to teach an adult to unlearn something. It is not the fault of an adult to grow up in a world where we eat so much meat, and that's why they crave and seek meat substitutes. But a baby that is born into the world and is fed a diet that has a tenth of the meat than we do now is not going to crave meat as much. Because it's all conditioning, right? Okay, parsley. We got it off the stems, beautiful parsley. My friends, we slice it. We don't chop this parsley. We're gonna get it all together. We're gonna bundle it all up as much as we can. We have a lot of parsley to go through. And we're just gonna slice it and get it to be more manageable. We don't chop it, we don't crush it. If you chop it and you start crushing all the cells, you're going to brown all of your parsley. It's gonna lose all of its flavor on the cutting board. It's gonna become extremely unstable. So we're using the power of slicing. We're using the power of slicing. Also, I don't think I have a command goodie. So again, this is the topic that I've thought a lot about. And in reality, if I wanted to practice more of what I would preach, I would be, going, of course, to a vegan diet. Or rather, at the very least, I would be buying ethically produced meat, right from small farms. I have a very strong opinion here. And it is, I am okay with the death of animals. I am not okay with animal husbandry, I think. I think the entire idea of having animals that are reared and pastured and raised and grown up to essentially just become meat producing or dairy producing machines is unethical. I don't think it's actually unethical for people to go ahead and hunt. I am not able to do that because, of course, hunted meat is a lot more expensive and I want to eat meat. So I make a little hypocritical choice, right? I go against my own values and my own beliefs and I continue to eat meat instead of finding substitutes or instead of just switching over to a fully vegetarian vegan diet. I want to become so materially successful that I can make those what I consider to be ethically sourced meats, ethically sourced dairy, right? Whatever that would be. I don't even think there would be an ethically sourced dairy at all, right? And that's what I would be sort of pursuing instead. Okay, soup is boiling. We're gonna go ahead and take the lid off. Right now what we're looking to do is we're just looking to soften up the zucchini, soften up the onions, get the potatoes, get the carrots, all of it cooked down. We have a big pot, a big beautiful pot of soup here. And all of these lovely vegetables just need to soften and boil away until it's ready. Is this gonna take maybe 15 to 20 minutes more? Or so, that's what I'm kind of guessing at the moment. Okay. So, let's continue to slice and process this parsley. We can keep it quite coarse if it's going to get cooked down, but I would prefer it a lot finer if I wanted to garnish with it, because I don't like getting a huge leaf of raw parsley. To me, it's a very unpleasant texture, right? So that's why we're slicing it down as much as we are in the moment. I also realized I forgot to put in garlic. So we're going to have to go ahead and do that right now. Well, you know what? Let's just get rid of the garlic in this. We'll do it. Do I want garlic? I want garlic. I just had a whole conversation with myself. I realized I didn't do it and I almost got lazy for a second, right? But basically the garlic can be theoretically added at any time, as long as it cooks down for enough time for it to, of course, lose its pungency. So, half of this parsley I'm actually going to take out now. And this to me is fine enough that I can go ahead and cook it. The rest of it is going to get added at the end. It's going to wilt a lot less. It's going to be a lot fresher. And so, that is the parsley that we're going to set aside and slice even more. Let's get the parsley inside. Also, Linnea, thank you so much for the Prime sub. Very appreciated. Okay, all this parsley. Gather it up, bundle it up. And we're just going to add this at the end once we turn off the heat. And this is the parsley that I wanted to, of course, be finer because I didn't want massive chunks of this stuff. Had a lot of herbs to go through today, so once again, I do apologize for my lack of cilantro on this, but I didn't want to go out of my way to buy another thing of herbs that I would always be pressed to use up. To me, like fresh herbs like cilantro and parsley are almost like a constant stressor. It's like a constant game of, I need to figure out as many dishes as possible that will be able to use this thing, right? And it's nice, let's say, like if you exclusively cook Mexican food, you always have cilantro in your fridge because you're always using it, and it'll never go bad that way. But if you're kind of jumping around, you can't really just do that. Right? You have to be very, very mindful of it because I'd rather not waste the money on this. So, parsley we're almost done with, my friends. A couple more passes through. Everybody doing good so far? I'm glad you like it. Keep please. I want to hear resounding yes, chef, please. And thank you. We're almost done with the soup. We're in the final stretches. Right? All we're doing right now is just, we're in the boiling phase. That's one yes, chef. That's 2 yes chefs, 3. I want to see everybody. I want to see everybody come out for this one. Thank you very much. Okay. So to prep the garlic, we're gonna use a garlic press, of course. I love my garlic press. I love it to death. Can't get enough of that thing. I'm gonna go ahead and taste the soup. It's actually probably just gonna need, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna do more salt for now because I want to do chicken bouillon. And then instead, just because I like the taste of the chicken bouillon powder. Really, really delicious. Very nice and vegetal. We'll probably just do more chicken bouillon powder instead. Okay, let's get some garlic in the mix. Let's get some garlic involved. By the way, make black garlic. If you have a dehydrator, make it yourself. I don't have a dehydrator. That takes a while to make like black garlic like properly in a dehydrator. Not like the burnt charred garlic either. To get like black garlic, that's a whole process. Okay, garlic cloves, I'm just taking them off of the head. And I want plenty of garlic in this thing. You can't have too much garlic. You just really can't. Okay. Do I like America's Test Kitchen, asks Jake, and the answer is actually yes. Some things I don't. I've taken some things and I've disagreed with a lot of things they've also said. But generally, anything that Dan does, I love Dan. I love Dan, I love the things that he has to say, and I've taken a lot of merit out of those videos. I feel like they used to be the ones that really perpetuated a lot of jargon that didn't end up being true. They would like throw around a lot of kitchen-y and science-y words. But recently, their stuff with Dan, amazing. Can't beat it. I think the series is called like What's Eating Dan or something. Love it. His Science of Cooking series is really good. Yes, it is. It absolutely is. I've learned quite a bit of it myself. Okay, there's very rarely actually good cooking content on YouTube. It's almost non-existent, quite frankly. A lot of it is just what it is. It's just content. And the stuff that happens over there with Dan, I actually consider it to be one of the very, very few really good cooking content series. It actually has something very interesting to say, and it's been very helpful for me as well. And it's really helped me optimize, my favorite thing is the cauliflower video. Right, the cauliflower video was lovely to me. I really, really enjoyed that one. How do I feel about Guga? I watch him when I want to feel something particularly negative. That is a hate watch. That is a hate watch for me. I have a nasty habit of hate watching. I watch so much intentionally bad cooking content. That is one of them. Guga is Mr. Content Man. He outputs mass-produced videos with bad questions and bad experiments. In a very, very not so good format. I watch it when I need to feel something. Oh, God. It's so funny. Do I like Marco Pierre White? Hannah, I do not. Let me tell you why. Biggest corporate sellout that you'll ever see. Marco Pierre White, at some point or another, used to be very, very passionate. That used to be somebody who was doing interesting things in the fine dining scene in the UK. And you know what? Yeah, he was, of course, sort of like old world abusive kitchen staff, right? He's very much so the kitchen stereotype in a lot of ways, really, really embodied that. And then he sold out to big old companies that made him work with really, really bad tools because you know why? Because he wanted money. He's a big sellout. Saddest sellout that there is. Seeing those sponsored videos, it's a tragedy. You're like, what happened? You actually can't help but be like, what happened to you? Very, very infamous, his videos, yeah? Okay, we're going to go ahead and dump in the garlic into the soup. And I hope to never become like that. Here's an excellent lesson for me, which is never become so successful that you will be offered sponsorships for nonsense. If I get sponsored, I want it to be a brand that I can really stand behind. Good Mythical Kitchen, but they're definitely just entertainment value. Yeah, I mean, I have nothing negative to say about that. Bunch of garlic going in right now. The potatoes are cooking, the carrots are cooking. I want to get the vegetables all nice and soft, my friends. Delicious. And again, you are free to reduce this down as much as you want. Get it as intense as you want. I'm looking for a very light soup. I'm not looking for like a thick stew or anything. I was just thinking, okay, I want to get rid of these leftovers. I want to make a big old pot of meatball stew. I want something that you can easily hammer down 2 or 3 bowls of. I'm also adding in a couple more big spoonfuls of the chicken bouillon because why not? Let's live a little bit. Let's stir it in. Get it all nicely dissolved. Ooh, we're also gonna get some lime ready for garnishing reasons. We're gonna squeeze in some lime. Just stirring in all the chicken bouillon, making sure it's fully dissolved. Yummy. And we're gonna now also get a little taste test of some of the vegetables and see how tender they are. The bell peppers are done. The zucchini is done. The potatoes and carrots are actually just going to catch up in a second. What do I think about Joshua Weissman? Jack, I used to really like Joshua Weissman 4 years ago. And then he got big on TikTok, and then his content really reflected it. He's content. Everything on YouTube, it's just content. I took a lot of inspiration from his chocolate cookie video. Remember that thing? He used to make some excellent videos. That's all. He's a little zoomer for me, which feels kind of funny to say considering I'm 21. But you know what I mean. Okay, I'm just gonna get a bowl ready for the soup. In fact, I think I'm also gonna add the meatballs in. What do I think of Daramgar VODs? I hate that guy. I don't know about that one, Dolingo. Not crazy about Daramgar. Not at all. Okay, I've sliced up everything that I've needed to. We're also just gonna add the meatballs in because we want the meatballs to slightly soften. We want them to cook in a little bit more. And then we're gonna season the whole thing with salt. Let's get the meatballs in. They're really, really cold. So this is just gonna heat them up through. I'm just throwing some stuff into the dishwasher while I have a moment to just chill out. Everybody, do we have any questions? We're in the final stage. We're just getting all the vegetables of the carrots so softened. We're getting everything really, really nice and tender. Anybody have anything else to say to me? We're in the final stages. Soon we're gonna be wrapping everything up. We're going to be eating a nice little bowl of this, and then we'll sign off. I've not shown you guys anything fancy today. Sometimes I do something like really elaborate or experimental. Today I just wanted to do a simple stream where I got rid of some of the stuff that I've had. Can we send links? I mean, what would you want to send a link to, Jack? Depending on what it is, it'd be fine. But I prefer if you do that in my Discord, if anything. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly clean up my station. Is it a chef I really like? Then please go ahead. Who's the chef? Packing up my dishwasher now. Excellent. And now my goal is, at this stage, I just want to make sure that everything is nice and tender. We're going to now transition on over to the ladle dimension. And I've dropped my entire thing of cutlery. Would you serve this with rice? Asked Hannah. You could serve this with whatever you want. I don't have any cooked rice at the moment, so I wouldn't do that. I would probably just do bread for that reason. But yes, you can absolutely serve this with cooked rice. It'd be lovely. Look at this big, beautiful pot of soup, huh? So, let's see how Mr. Potatoes are doing. Really, I just care about the cook on the potatoes and the carrots. Those are the ones that have to be especially tender. Just mixing everything all the way around. And now let's scoop out some potato. Let's see if we can fish them out. I see some potato. I can see that it's cracking, which is telling me that it's probably cooked all the way through. Perfect. I just scalded my mouth with a really hot potato in there. There's a reason there's a whole song made about it. Ouch. Okay, another big spoonful of the chicken bouillon, and then we're gonna do some salt. You could use as much of this little chicken bouillon as you'd like. It'd just be really fun. Goodbye, Tobio. Lovely to have you. Ah, guys, I've burnt the hell out of my mouth. That sucks. Big pinch of salt, 2 big pinches of salt. It'll be hard to over-salt this. It's a lot of soup. Like, to over-salt like this amount of soup, you really have to try. It has to be like an active effort. Okay, now I'm gonna have a little taste. Oh, that is lovely. Even with my scalded mouth, I can tell you that that is really, really delicious. Simple, hearty food. Doesn't have to be particularly fancy, my friends. I did not just burn my mouth again. Ow. That did not happen. I've never been to Evo Keepers. Okay, everybody, guess what? We're ready to plate. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna shut off the heat. Everything is cooked and warmed through. We're adding in the rest of this fresh parsley. Beautiful. And then we're going to garnish it with some lime juice on the plate. Is everybody ready? Let's get a nice big bowl of this stuff. This is my dinner food today. Let's get a nice big bowl. Let's ladle some in. Nice and fresh and delicious. Some meatballs, some potatoes, some zucchini, some carrot. Let's get a little bit of everything. Let's get a bunch of that broth as well. Excellent. Now that's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Gutchell. Okay, everybody, guess what? We have finished up a beautiful soup for today. And then also, we have a little lime juice, huh? Look at that. Refreshing, light, easy, delicious, and most importantly, we used up the leftovers. This is what I consider to be the epitome of home food. Everybody, let's do one last final recap. We made our own homemade chicken stock. We broke down a whole chicken. We took the bones. We took carrot scraps, celery scraps, bay leaves, black pepper, onion, and we made a stock in a pressure cooker. We took some bell pepper. We took some tomatoes. We took some jalapenos. We charred it. We blended it up, and we added it on in. Then we chopped up some potatoes, we chopped up some zucchini, we chopped up some celery, some carrot, some onion, and the leftover meatballs from yesterday, as well as a bunch of parsley and garlic. And we brought it all together for one beautiful soup, and we had some toasted spices. We had the toasted cumin, the oregano, the coriander seeds, and the black pepper. And then we're just gonna take a beautiful little lime wedge, take a little acidity to cut through all of that meatiness and all those vegetables, and garnish it on top. This is light, this is healthy, this is delicious, and most importantly, we've used up a bunch of leftovers I've had. I love doing stuff like this. I love doing soups like this. It's not fancy, it's not pretentious, but it is the epitome of home food. Because I used up what I had and I was able to transform it into something better than it was before. Greater than the sum of its parts. Improvement over time. Everybody, before we sign off, before we grade somebody, anybody have any final questions, a final batch of questions? Now is gonna be the time to do it. It does look pretty fire, doesn't it? Look at all these vegetables. Look at that. If you had too much salt, is there a way to balance it out? Yes, you just add in some more water. How does the lamb play with the chicken broth? Great. Chicken broth is very inoffensive, motorbike Dan. You can do anything you want with chicken broth. You can mix meats all the time. Lamb broth would be very intense if we use lamb bones. But chicken broth, you can mix it with beef. You can do anything you want. You don't have to keep it to the same meat. You can mix starches. You can mix meats. You can mix meats. I think they say that in the Bible, perhaps. I'm not sure if that's even the case. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go into the food and drink tab on Twitch, and we're going to see who is currently live, who is currently streaming food stuff. Ooh, Daramgar was on the top of it. Wow. Okay, we're gonna grade them in a little bit. But first, I'm gonna have a little sip of everything, okay? Let's have a little taste. A little bit of the soup. Delicious, flavorful, wholesome, acidic. A little bit sweet, spicy. Let's have some of the meatball in the broth. Yeah, it's wonderful. What more could you ask for? Okay, everybody. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you, thank you. I am going to see you all tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to update the schedule. Join the Discord. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. 5 p.m. Eastern Time Sunday, this Sunday, New Year's Eve, is going to be the stream, and then afterwards we'll be doing Tuesday. Type in exclamation mark donate or tip, please, and thank you to help with some of the costs of everything, because this was all really, really expensive. Go type in exclamation mark wish list for my throne, which would really, really help out as well. There's some kitchen equipment that I would need. I will see you all tomorrow at 5 p.m., same exact time. And if not, I'm going to also see you on the YouTube VODs. Everybody, take care. Have a lovely rest of your evening.